All right, everybody, here we are. And as you can see, let's see if I do this right. I am joined by a very special guest. This is Bob from Shortstop on Pool. Bob, how's it going?
Doing great, Chris. Great to be
Let
here.
us know in the chat. Can you hear both of us loud and clear? Want to make sure that everything is starting off on the right foot, especially being seen and heard. All right, cool. We are live. So, Bob, let everybody know, like, what are we doing? Like, why are we here? What's going on?
The reason why we're here is because I'm a straight pool fanatic, the same as Chris. Kind of crazy that way. No, I'm all about straight pool, and I have a YouTube channel, and Chris has popped up on my YouTube feed several times over the past year, and I've watched a few things he does, and then was it a few weeks ago that you started your road to 100?
Yeah, because it was first it was 2 years ago when I did Dr. Dave's Run Your Age Straight Pool Challenge,
Okay,
and I was actually able to score a 50 on that one. But that was prior to me even having the knowledge that I have now about how to really try to discover the patterns, to get the good position on the break ball, and
right.
all the different terminology and stuff. And during that time, I literally state in that video, like, I want to do a Road to 100 series. Well,
Yeah.
it took me 2 years before I finally before I finally started the series. And yeah, I think it was around I think it was actually around close to Christmas time when I actually like got everything going. And then like the only thing is for me is like I just don't have a set schedule of like
Gotcha.
when I'm gonna go live or whatever. It's like if I know that I have a free evening, it's like, okay, do I go and watch TV or do I do a live stream? And most of the time,
Yeah.
live stream is gonna win.
Okay. So I saw you one of your first ones, and the straight pull nut that I am, I'm watching you, and I'm yelling at the screen. No, don't shoot that ball. Turn around. Shoot the other ball. What are you doing? And
Right?
then and I've tuned in a couple times since then, including a couple times this week, and I'm impressed because
Thank you.
you're figuring things out, and your patterns have gotten better, and your shot selection and your terminology. I can tell that you're not just practicing here at home. You're doing research and you're learning things online and different places, and that's really cool to see. And so that's somebody I want to talk to. And so I wrote to Chris and asked him if he would be interested in a free lesson, and I'll share what I can with you and see if that helps you. And I'd love to see you get to 100. So that's what I'm doing here.
Absolutely. So like when Bob reached out to me, I was just like, "Holy crap! I got another collab opportunity." And I love doing collabs and stuff. And I am certainly a person that is humble enough to know that even in my popularity of whatever, it's like I know how to play eight. I'm decent at eight ball. I'm decent at nine ball. I'm decent at shooting balls into pockets and stuff. But the strategies and patterns that I have for eight ball, the patterns and strategies that I have for nine ball, are not the same thing for the patterns and strategies for straight pool. They're completely different things. And so if someone is willing to do what Bob's doing here for me today, which is this is not even knowing if I shoot better than Bob or Bob shoots better than me or whatever. But what I do know is that Bob has more knowledge in straight pool than I do. And that's really what I'm going to be interested in. And he certainly offered his services to me. So I'm certainly appreciative. And I said, hey, we could do a collab. And so hopefully what can happen here is that everybody that's in the live chat or everybody that discovers this live stream, make sure you go on over to his YouTube channel, check out his stuff. And if you like his stuff, then consider subscribing to his channel as well, because I think this should be both educational for me as well as educational for the viewers.
Yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate that, Chris. I know, I give lessons in town here, and it's the same thing. Every time I give a lesson, I learn something. And I specifically chose the name Shortstop on Pool because I'm not a pro. I don't know everything. I'm one of you guys. I've run 100 balls 8 times, so maybe I'm a little better. I got a little more experience. I got more gray hair. Um, but but I'm one of you guys, and nobody is ever going to master this game. of straight pool, of pool in general, but straight pool of, I'm a little bit prejudiced. In my opinion, straight pool is the most difficult pool game there is. Anybody can run 14 balls. Running 100 balls is a whole nother can of worms.
What about
And
714?
right now I've set yeah, and I've set a goal for myself to run 200 balls. And I'm learning that the difference between running 100 balls and running 200 is a lot bigger difference than I thought it was. So this is a journey. No one's ever going to master this game. You know, Jason Shaw shot the most flawless pool you've ever seen for 51 racks, and the run ended. Everybody's run ends. That's the nature of the game. So we're all
That
we're
that
all just on this journey trying to enjoy it.
That's really cool. I like the way you phrase it. I do have a question about what you just said, though. Is
Sure.
and I'm gonna give. I'm gonna already answer myself, and then I want to see what your answer is to go with it. But you talked about the difference between 100 balls and 200 balls, and I
Yep.
was wanting to know if you can go more into detail as to why 200 is more challenging than 100, without saying it's 100 more balls, right? Because
Yeah.
I, I'm basically thinking, well, like in my case, where I'm just trying to get to 100, and
Yeah.
as a like a medium milestone, it's like let's get over 50. But
Right.
then I already know that even right now, for me to have 46, just to get to 47, just to say, hey, I've got a new record. The
Yeah.
moment I get into that fourth rack, it's like every ball becomes so much more pressuring to make. At least that's what it does for me. So I can
Yes.
only imagine, like, I think my answer would be is the longer you go into this, especially when you start to become aware of how far you're actually running, that you're really kind of doing yourself in, like the
Yeah.
mental pressure is going to make you snap and you're going to do like the wrong thing at the
Every
wrong time.
everybody has that. For me, it's around 6 racks. It's around 84 points because I know all I got to do is to get through the next rack, and I've got another 100 ball run. And so I can get nervous, and you've got to steel yourself against that. John Schmidt talked about the same thing when he was trying to break Mosconi's record. He ran over 300 balls, I don't know how many times. And he said once he got past that and got to the around the 400, he would feel the same thing. He would start to tighten up. And I'm thinking, how do you tighten up after you've just run however many racks that is? And so it's the same for everyone, and it'll increase as you get a longer run. But let's see, what were you saying? Oh, what is the difference between 100 balls and 200 balls? Okay.
For you in
Yeah.
comparison to the answer that I just gave.
Yes. So the way you got to look at it, I think, is this: when you play straight pool, I look at what I call failure points. Okay. So I just said Jason Shaw ran 714 balls and then the run ended. You got to think about this. Every single time that you go on a long run of straight pool, it will end. You're not going to run balls until you die of old age. The run comes to an end. It's different than 9 ball. When you play 9 ball, once you pocket the 9 ball, you call that game over and you've won. It ends on a positive note, right? Straight pool always ends on a negative note. You either miss a shot or you scratch or you get hooked and you don't have a shot. So it's kind of hard. You've got to get your mind turned away from the negativity and always stay on the positive. So it's about failure points. So there's failure points that are not your fault, like the Jason Shaw's run ended. He hit that break shot perfectly. He did absolutely nothing wrong. He hit that shot just as well as he hit the 51 break shots before it. It just so happened that the cue ball didn't hit another ball or the rail, and it just so happened that the cue ball that one time was on a track straight to that corner pocket. There's nothing you can do. So there's failure points that are not your fault, and there's failure points that kind of are, like if you miss a shot or you scratch when you shouldn't have, or things like that. So you can get to 100 playing straight pool pretty good and doing some things wrong, the wrong way, and having to shoot some tough recovery shots that you really shouldn't have had to do, right? But you're going to find it a lot harder to get to 200 balls if you're doing that. You've got to do more things right and less things wrong in order to get to the higher level. And then I don't know what it takes to get to 626 or 714 because that's beyond me. But I know what it took for me to get to 100 balls.
So
And
would you say things start to snowball for you like the moment you get out of line?
oh, absolutely, quickly, faster than you can imagine. And I've done it a million times. I just posted a video last week where I ran 95,
Mhm.
and by all rights, I should have gotten through that rack. And I made one mistake, which then I tried to recover from on the next two shots, and each one failed and compounded, and then I was done. It was over.
Okay.
And
All
it,
right, cool.
it happens. It happens fast, and it happens to everyone. It happens to
Yeah.
everyone of all skill levels.
So,
That's what
well,
makes street pool so hard.
yeah, and so like if you've already seen some of my attempts, you see where, like you said at the very beginning, where I was either struggling just to hit decent break shots because I was trying to force break shots to where I can smash the rack open,
Yeah,
and then I end up missing the break ball.
yeah.
But then even when I do make the break ball and I smash the rack open, my pattern was actually pretty terrible to where next thing you know, I'm making one hard shot after another. And if I'm doing
Hmm.
that, I do have the philosophy of you're bound to miss making one hard shot after another because
Absolutely.
if you're playing good pool, it should look boring. You know, because like everything you're doing is like so perfect and it looks so easy because you're making good transitions, you're getting good positions on the ball
Oh,
and stuff to where the cue ball is just naturally going where it needs to go, and you're not really having to control that. And then of course, over the times of my brute force attempts, my research and stuff, like it's it's slowly but surely starting to kick itself into gear. And so, what I'm hoping, at least for tonight, with whatever you have planned for me to do for the viewers, and so for me to learn and for the viewers to learn, and then of
yeah.
course after we're done doing our a little lesson here, because that's what we're going to be doing first. I'll
Right.
make some attempts and let's see if I
Right.
can even apply the lesson because
Stuff that you learn.
that's always the biggest thing is like you could teach someone almost anything, but then after you leave, how long does it stick? Because old habits die hard. It's because every one of my APA team members, like I have to teach them something multiple times because I'll have to remind them during a match, like, hey, remember we did this.
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing it? And then eventually it sticks. It'll eventually stick, and then they start to get to see the positive notes. And so that's pretty much what I hope to do at least here.
It's really
So
neat
that
that you.
way, go ahead.
Yeah. It's really neat that you say that because I experience exactly the same thing. And what I always every time I take on a new student, I tell them exact the same thing. And I tell them I cannot teach you how to play pool.
Hmm.
And they're like, wait, what do you mean? That's what I'm here for. I'm paying you to give me a lesson. And I say, hold on. What I can do is I can teach you how to teach yourself to play pool. And that's a very important difference. And it's what you just said. You can tell them what to do, but if they don't go to the practice table and practice it, they don't get it.
Yep.
So that's what it is. That's what it is.
Nope.
I'll
Absolutely.
I'll share with you an anecdote because it's fun, and this anecdote has been told a billion times in every pool hall across the country, across the world. You may have heard it, but it applies to what you just said. And the anecdote goes like this: Willie Mosconi would travel around the country and give exhibitions,
Hmm.
and he would run 100 balls every single night during these exhibitions. And so the story goes, some small town in the Midwest somewhere, somebody heard that Mosconi's coming to their local pool hall. So they're like, okay, I'm going to go down there and watch Billy Mosconi and see what this is all about, right? So they go down there, and Willie Mosconi starts doing his exhibition, and he runs 100 balls. And the person turns to the person next to him in the crowd and says, I just watched him shoot every single shot for that 100 balls that he just ran, and I don't think he's a very good pool player. And the guy said, well, why don't you think he's a good pool player? Well, he never once had to shoot a difficult shot. And the other guy says, yeah, now you're starting to understand.
Exactly. Good
That's what
pool.
straight pool is.
Yeah, good pool, just good pool in general should look
Yep.
boring as hell
Boring
because
as hell.
you're just playing it so well. But we as human beings, we like excitement. We like things that look really cool. We like seeing
Yeah.
jump shots. We like seeing multiple rail kick shots. We like seeing 2 or 3
Yeah.
or 4 ball, 5 ball combos or whatever. We
Yeah.
like seeing everything except shooting a ball straight into a pocket.
And stopping the
So
cue ball. Cue ball doesn't do
yeah,
anything. It just
exactly.
stops.
So if you're not doing any of that other exciting stuff, yeah, you're not a good pool player.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't agree more with you on that one.
Yep.
All right, so
Okay.
let's see, everybody. Let's go ahead and switch to this. We're not really going to be doing any long attempts right now. This is going to be kind of Bob's little segment here to let's have him teach me something or teach everybody here something.
Yeah.
Bob, you currently have 50 plus people in here, and that's including myself. So the
Very
floor is
cool.
yours.
Very cool. So what I thought I would do is I just want to give a really short intro. I've got a book on straight pool. You can find it where I go into all these topics in depth. But I want to give a really short intro and just kind of give a very brief synopsis of what is my theory to playing straight pool, and it's a way to organize things in your mind, because a lot of people when they start playing straight pool, they might break open the rack and then they look. They either have one shot to shoot and it's really tough and they don't know what to do, or they have 6 shots to choose from and they don't know which one to choose. So how do you make sense of this game? So I'll give a real brief synopsis of this, and then what I'll do is we'll just set up a couple of break shots, and I'll talk to Chris about those, talk to everyone about those, and then we'll have Chris break open a rack, and we'll talk through things. It's not so much about trying to set a record. We're just going to kind of talk about the concepts that I just explained and see how they apply to whatever spread of balls he gets when he opens up the rack. And we'll do that once or twice, and then we'll go on to his normal road to 100.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
Okay. So I talked in the intro. I talked about failure points, and another way to think about those is what ifs or ifs. And so you can kind of break down the game of straight pool, excuse me, into 4 what I call ifs. So I'll name them and then I'll describe them briefly. So the 4 ifs are: you need to make the break shot and get another shot. You need to be able to shoot pool without missing. You need to be able to analyze the rack and make decisions about how to get through it. And then you need to be able to get on an end pattern that will get you reliably onto your next break shot. And then it just repeats. And so that can kind of sound simple. In conceptually, it is. And that's how you run 51 racks in a row, like Jason Shaw does. You're just running through this process and your brain is constantly calculating. But it takes months or years to develop a straight pool brain that thinks in that way. But this is a way to compartmentalize the tasks that are involved. And it makes it easier to work through your rack. Rather than thinking about all 14 balls at once, you can compartmentalize and just work on one task at a time. Okay, so the break shot is the easiest one. And so let's look at a couple of break shots. You can rack the balls and put the object ball to the side. What I want to say to people who are maybe new or intermediate straight pool players, the reason one of the big requests that I get whenever people want a straight pool lesson, they want to know how to make that break shot. I keep missing the break shot, or if I make the break shot, the cue ball doesn't do what I want, etc. And the reason why that happens, in my opinion, is these are people who have learned to play 8-ball and 9-ball, and so they might be good players, good shooters. But if put the 14 ball next to the rack, and then put the cue ball above it like a typical kind of a break shot. Like an inside one. Okay. Now, if you're playing the game of 9-ball and you have to play position for a ball that's over on the other side of the table, how are you going to stroke that 14? You're going to stroke it smoothly a little bit below center and just let the cue ball slide over there. Or maybe you're going to go forward 2 rails for a ball into the side pocket. Well, you just cue the cue ball at the top and you're going to hit it You're not going to hit it really hard. You're going to hit it smoothly. My point is, this is a shot that you've never shot before in your pool career if you're just taking up straight pool, because you got to hit this hard. And you got to, and the other reason is you're trying to send the cue ball into the rack. So if you look at the tangent line from the break ball into the rack, and then continue that tangent line, where does it go? It scratches in the other corner pocket. And what have we learned our entire pool careers? It's how to keep the cue ball from scratching. Now here you are shooting a shot and you're sending the cue ball straight at the other corner pocket. So that's the reason why I think a lot of people have trouble with these break shots. It's an alien shot that you've never shot before. And so I teach people to practice your break shots by shooting them without the rack there. And so what I would do if let's say I'm having trouble with the angle that you have set up, I would take the whole rack, all 14 balls, and put them off to the side, and I would shoot this shot over and over. And I want to try and shoot it really hard. The reason is you don't usually do that when you're playing 8-ball or 9-ball. You shoot it with a lot more control. So here you're doing something brand new. So you've got to train yourself to do it. And what you could even do is shoot you could mark the table so that you shoot exactly the same angle over and over, and then set a goal to pocket the ball and make the cue ball scratch in the other corner pocket. And what you're doing is you're rehearsing something that you've never done before, because when you play 8-ball and 9-ball, you don't want to scratch.
Right.
So you're training yourself to trust this shot and to let her rip and let it go. And there's also something subconscious that's happening. We when we learn to play pool, we become accustomed to the sounds that pool makes. And so when you shoot this shot, when you practice it, you're going to hear the break ball go into the right corner pocket, and then immediately afterwards, you're going to hear the cue ball go into the other corner pocket. And that's
Real quick,
similar
Bob.
to
Real quick, Bob. I just want to let everybody know that when you hear Bob say right,
oh yeah,
he's referring to over here.
that side. Yeah,
And when he says left, he's referring to over here.
good. Down table is where the balls are racked. Up table is up on the other end. So that's one way to practice break shots. And I think it's important. And when people do that, then you start to loosen up and you start to be not as apprehensive about it. I've seen you shoot a lot of break shots, Chris. I don't think you have that trouble. But I think it's important to point out that in the repetitive process that is straight pool, the break shot is one of the 4 main components. You're not going to just start playing straight pool and start making these shots, because this is not the same shot that you've shot playing 8-ball and 9-ball. So you need to set up some practice sessions and train shooting that break shot over and over and over. Okay, enough about that. The other thing I would say while we're at it with break shots.
I just want to read the chat while you're talking.
Oh, okay. I hope it's not bad.
Nope, nothing. I don't see anything bad.
Not
yet.
Chris and I chatted about this earlier, so we'll go over it real quick because he's mentioned it in a couple of his previous streams, but it's really important. So if you look at this break ball, Chris, you could lay your cue down on the table parallel to the long rail in line with that break ball. Okay? This is what we call the parallel line. So there's a real good rule of thumb. And when the cue ball is between the rail and the parallel line, which is where it is right now, we call that an inside angle. And whenever you have an inside angle, if you're not sure what to do, stroke the shot with a high cue ball, with a follow stroke. As a general rule of thumb, you're going to have good success with that. The cue ball is usually going to arc and curve forward into the bottom rail and then come back up. A lot of different things can happen there depending on a lot of variables, but this is a follow shot. And this is when Jason Shaw ran his 714, 95% of his break shots were like this. Yeah, and they were even like that, even a sharper angle. And if you give yourself a practice session where you are shooting that back cut angle for an hour, it's a scratch shot in the other corner pocket, like I mentioned. But if you practice it for an hour a couple of times a week, you'll start to get real accustomed to it, and it'll become a very high percentage shot for you. Okay, now I'm going to make a slight adjustment here. Um, you can move the cue stick, so that the tip is pointing at the ghost ball position for that 14. Well, but still parallel to the rail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
going to be
Gonna be right there.
roughly right
Yeah,
about there.
right there. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you do want to line up the parallel line to the ghost ball position, not to the break ball. Because if you put that cue ball right next to your cue stick, Chris, you're actually not shooting parallel to the rail. You're cutting it a little bit. Or you're shooting the cue ball away from the rail a little bit. See, does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's still an inside angle because it's between the parallel line and the rail. Okay?
Gotcha. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, when the cue ball's on the other side of the parallel line, that's an outside angle. And so typically, the rule of thumb is when you have the outside angle, you want to cue below center on the cue ball. It depends on the number of variables whether you want to cue it below center or low, or you want to really put a draw stroke on it. And so hopefully a couple of those break shots will come up tonight during the run and we can talk about it. But that's the general rule of thumb. Inside angle, you use a follow stroke. Outside angle, you use a draw stroke. Now, I'll make another point to this that I'm not sure if Chris has heard before. The best angle for us. Oh, your stream froze there, Chris. Are you all right?
No, I'm still fine. You're good.
Oh, I thought you froze. You're just looking at stuff.
Nope. Because the microphone, I think, might be picking up my earbuds. The viewers would have to tell me if they basically hear if they
Oh,
hear
okay.
a repeat of what you're saying. So I'm trying to toggle the volume to
Okay.
where that doesn't happen.
Okay.
But no, you're good to go.
Okay. The best straight pull break shot rule of thumb is going to be an inside angle, and there's a very good reason for that. So if you move your cue ball back over to an inside angle there, Chris, give yourself a nice sharp cut. Move it even farther to the right. Yeah. When you think about this shot, when the cue ball leaves the object ball, it's going to retain over 50% of the energy that you've applied to it with your cue stick. And that is the reason why this is a preferable to an outside angle, is that cue ball retains more of the energy. Therefore, the cue ball can transmit that energy into the rack. So you have a better chance of opening the rack balls well. Now, if you put the cue ball the same distance on the other side of that parallel line, give yourself an outside angle. Now you have a very slight cut shot, and boy, you got to clobber it in order to try and get those balls open, right? So those are the two rule of thumbs that are important when you're starting out to learn with break shots. Okay?
Yep.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
The second fundamental that I would talk about is don't miss. And that seems really obvious and obtuse. So of course you don't miss. Duh. You can't miss. But when you think about it, there's two components to not missing. The first is fundamentals. And that's why beginners to the game of pool have a really hard time with straight pool, because they have a hard time making 2 or 3 balls in a row. So for someone who's starting out, they're maybe a beginner to an intermediate player, it's a real good idea to take up equal offense. Have you heard of equal offense, Chris?
Not in regards to straight pool, but
Yeah.
in general, I would think that you have if you're referring to equal offense, is the 50-50 split between going for every shot versus playing safe, or
No, I'm
maybe not
referring to
playing safe,
something
but
else.
playing conservatively.
I'm referring to a game called Equal Offense. And we used to play this. It's a version of straight pool. So with the game of equal offense, what you do is you rack all 15 balls, you take ball in hand in the kitchen, and you break them wide open like a game of 8-ball. And then you try to clear the table the way you would running a rack of straight pool. And you get 1 point for each ball, and you need to leave a break ball. And the goal is to make 5 more points after you make the break ball. So the goal in the game of equal offense is to score 20 points per inning. 20 points is the maximum you can score. So you can challenge yourself to do that, or you can play against an opponent and shoot a set number of innings and see who ends up with the highest score. The reason why it's good for beginners to intermediate players is because it trains you to not miss. Rather than starting out with a clustered up table, you're starting out with a table that's wide open. And so uh, it's much you have much more opportunities to pocket balls and play position, and you're not struggling with opening clusters. So it's a really good way for people to learn. Um, the other side of the coin, when I say don't miss, it's not it's very important. It's not a flippant thing. Once you've got solid fundamentals, you're a good intermediate player and beyond. It's not about your fundamentals. Chris and I talked about this earlier. There's failure points when you're running or when you're trying to run a long straight pull rack. And if you find yourself having to shoot a couple of difficult shots every rack, you're not going to get to 100 because nobody's superhuman. And those really long, difficult cut shots, you're going to miss them. You're going to miss one sooner or later, no matter how good you are. We saw Shane Van Boning miss him. He's one of the best shot makers there is. Same with Jason Shaw. So the flip side of the coin for don't miss, the flip side of your fundamentals is playing good position. And that's what straight pool is about. When you watch a game of nine ball is about shot making. It's about playing position as well. But the main feature focus about nine ball is you're making a lot of difficult shots and long shots all the time. Straight pool is the exact opposite. Like Chris said, you want it to look boring. How do you get it to look boring? By playing good position. And that's the flip side. And so the second way that you learn to play good straight pool is practice sessions where you're shooting drills, like the lineup drill, the L drill, the side to side drill. And those drills aren't so much about pocketing the ball. They're about controlling the cue ball so that you always have an easy shot. So that's the second aspect. The third one, which is the most fun, and it's the one we're going to be talking about most tonight, is rack analysis. And that's how do you approach the balls? How do you run the balls? And what I teach is as soon as you break the balls, you want to decide what type of rack you're facing. And there's basically three different types. You can face a rack that's mostly clustered. That is, most 7 or more of the balls are still in the rack area, or the rack can be opened up more than that, where you have just 3 or 4 or 5 balls in the rack area and maybe a few clusters elsewhere. Or you can have a table that's mostly wide open with every ball potentially has a pocket open to it already. So your approach to the rack is going to be different for each of those three scenarios. So the first thing you do when you open the balls is you make a decision. What type of rack am I looking at? And your goal is always to develop the rack so that every ball is open and has a pocket. And once you've done that, it's what I call, I've heard you talk about this recently, Chris. You've talked about the rack being solved.
Right. As long as I have good cue ball execution, I should be able to finish it after that, once it's in a solved
Yep.
state.
That's the point. Once you've gotten your don't miss attitude correct, where your fundamentals are good and your position is good, if the balls are open where everyone's got a pocket, you should, in quote, air quotes, you should clear that table and get to the next rack. So that's what rack analysis is about. And then the final step is the end pattern. And the end patterns are something that straight pool players love to talk about. And I just love the social media today. You know, the Straight Pool Fanatics site on YouTube. I mean, on Facebook, and there's so many good straight pool players who are sharing information. And I've posted examples where I'm like, man, I've had trouble with this end pattern. What should I have done? And I'll get 4 or 5 different responses by 25 different straight pool players, and it's just awesome. And so that's the final step, is developing a straight pool mind that can see those end patterns. And there's different things that we want to look for. And we'll shoot just a couple racks where we'll go through them real slowly right now, Chris, and we'll talk
Okay.
about those things. And so end patterns are huge. You can get on your break ball the wrong way and keep the run going. And sometimes that's the only option you have. And so you give it your best effort and you're trying to do it. But the best straight pool players are the ones that see those end patterns early, like even before the rack is solved, they might see it. But definitely, the moment the rack is solved, their brain switches over from this rack analysis mode to end pattern mode, and they look for that pattern. And that's one of the most fun parts about straight pool, I think. Okay, was that confusing, or was that did that make any sense?
It made all sense to me, but like I said before, like even after we're done tonight, how well can I retain that without you having to repeat it multiple times in my ear?
Listen, I've run over 100 balls a number of times, and I'm trying to run 200, and I am still learning, Chris. Like I said, I just posted last week. I couldn't figure out this end pattern.
Hmm.
And that's what makes it fun. No one's ever going to master this game. We're all on the journey together. Okay, why don't we shoot a rack and see what happens?
Okay. Is
And
there
we'll
a
go through these steps.
particular opening break that you want me to try to start off with, or does it matter?
Whichever one you're most uncomfortable with. How
That I'm
about that?
most uncomfortable with?
Yeah, why not? How,
Okay.
how do
So
you feel about
there are
that?
times where I try to get that I do try to get this.
Yes.
Because these are the ones that where I have
Okay.
found that I actually miss the most because of what you described. I have to
Yes.
hit this hard. I have to do a back cut.
Yes.
And most of the time I end up either just barely missing it on either side, whether it's an overcut or an undercut, and then
Yes.
sometimes I've actually bobbled it, but I
Yes.
still smash the rack open. So for
Let's
me, the way that I've gotten around it was I don't worry about the rack anymore. I worry about the shot to make sure first, let's make the shot because no matter what, I have to make the shot. And then as I get comfortable making the shot, then I try to start to increase the power to actually try to spread the rack
you are
open.
you are right in line, Chris. That is one of the advantages actually to this break shot is because you don't need to know precisely where the cue ball is going to hit that rack. And that frees up your mind to not even worry about it. And you can just focus 100% on making that ball. So that's actually an advantage to this break shot. Now, I want you to do one thing.
Okay?
And and this is something that you will see the pros do if you watch closely because they do it a lot faster than you and I do. But it's important. Walk over to the top left corner of the table and look at the shot line for that 14 ball to the pocket. So you said you have trouble pocketing this ball, and I guarantee you I have trouble pocketing this ball too. But what you're doing right now is really key. And the reason why is our brains perceive things in three dimensions. And your brain is computing automatically, your subconscious is computing the distance between the cue ball and the object ball, the distance between the object ball and the pocket, based on your perception of very slight perceived size differences between these balls. It's amazing. It's a subconscious process that you have learned to do over all the years that you play pool. But if you don't walk over behind that object ball and take a look at the angle, you can still make the ball, but your pocketing percentage is going to be so much higher. And
Right.
I guarantee you, Thorsten Homan and Jason Shaw and all these guys, they do this. They do it really fast. They do it so fast, it looks like they're just glancing at it, but they do
Like
it.
this, they
Yep.
just
They do it
and then
so
just come
fast.
back and then just come back over.
Right. But when you walk from behind the shot line over to the cue ball, you got to keep your eyes on the object ball and the cue ball
Hmm.
because your brain perceives those spatial things that are happening as your perspective changes as you walk across from behind the object ball to behind the cue ball, and it helps you make that ball.
I see what you're saying because I kind of did a live ghost ball lesson because I'm a ghost ball aimer and I kind of
Okay.
explained almost exactly what you're saying to where when I picture the center of the ghost ball, if I've pictured it correctly, which is a very key thing, like I don't want to be too far away and I don't want to be too close to the object ball because then I'm either overcutting or undercutting the ball.
Yeah.
But because of my years of practice, I'm usually fairly accurate at doing this. And so when I see it, especially when I come over here and I see it, then as I'm walking around, then all I'm really doing is staring at that ghost ball spot. And I want to
Right.
see the moment I get behind the cue ball, is the center of my cue ball lined up with the center of that ghost ball spot. I don't even care about the
Right.
object ball because I'm really sending the cue ball to a specific spot on the table. And if I
Exactly.
do it correctly, then my ending result should yield that I make the ball.
Right. Exactly right. And now there's a second thing that all the pros do before they shoot this key ball, or they mean this break shot. They do what you're doing. They stand behind the shot. So you're standing upright and you're holding your cue and you're visualizing the object ball going into the center of the pocket. You'll see Jason Shaw move his hand like he's stroking his shaft while he's standing up behind the cue ball. And again, it might only take him a half a second, sometimes 2 seconds. John Schmidt, Thorsten Homan, all those guys do it. It's the visualization is key because you're telling your subconscious, I intend to pocket this ball. I am going to pocket this ball. And you're getting all the negative thoughts out. And it's just a very quick visualization. And when you can see that ball going in the pocket, then you get down on the shot and shoot it.
I love the part when you said about getting rid of all the negativity.
Yep.
There's only one negativity that's kind of bleeding into my mind right now that just will not go away. Is that we're
Yeah.
doing all this talking
And
and
no
stuff,
shooting.
and I'm gonna miss this ball.
When I give lessons and I tell people how to shoot a shot and I demonstrate it, I almost always miss it the first time because I've been talking so much.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
it's hard. It's hard. Okay,
right.
so all you have to do here is hit the cue ball in the dead center on the top. You want to be smooth so you get lots of forward rotation on the cue ball. Let her rip. Beautiful.
Yes, success.
Perfect. Now, did you notice what the cue ball did? Did you pay attention?
After it hit the rack, it arced forward and then just came straight back.
And I really love this as an experiment sometimes. Set up a camera overhead and put your video on slow-mo
Mm-hmm.
and record that break shot and play it back in slow-mo. It is really cool how that cue ball backs up and then curves forward and then goes straight to the bottom rail.
Thank you. You just gave
It's
me a
really
YouTube
neat.
video idea.
There you
I'll
go.
be sure to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that was perfect. What you want, your cue ball, look where your cue ball ended up. If I remember correctly, I don't think the cue ball hit another ball. I might be wrong. And that's what your playback
Yeah,
will
I
show
don't
you as
remember
well.
if there was a collision up here, but for it to end right here makes
Yeah.
me believe that it didn't hit a ball
Yeah.
because normally when I
Yeah.
do arc forward, I usually get stuck up here or I end
Uh-huh.
up somewhere on the side
Somewhere
rail
by the
because I ran into a
right.
ball.
This is what often happens. So your cue ball actually came off that bottom rail at a little bit of an angle to come up there. Very often, it will either come straight back up or it will angle towards the side rail by the side pocket. And very often, it'll hit a ball and that'll help it stop. But having your cue ball in the center of the table after this break shot, this is a perfect. You can't ask for a better break shot. Okay. So, step one accomplished, Chris. Good job. Pat on the back.
On the first attempt.
Now, the next step is very, very important, and it's going to set the tone for the whole rack.
Mm-hmm.
And I call it rack analysis. So if you remember earlier, I said the first thing you do when you after the break shot is decide what type of rack. So is this a clustered rack, semi-clustered, or is it open?
Um, I almost want to say semi-clustered because of these three, but
Okay.
the thing is about this, the moment I make this 3 ball, which I have access to,
Right.
the 12 ball is open to go here, and the
Yep.
moment I move the 12 out of the way, the 9 ball is open to go here. So
Absolutely.
if I look further into this, I would not even probably consider this a semi-clustered ball. I would almost consider this an open rack.
I would absolutely consider it an open rack. You don't have there's two ways to help you make that decision. One is no two balls are touching.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. The other is count the number of balls that are still in the triangle of the rack area. How many?
Really, just looks like 2, maybe 3. I don't know if this 12 is really like in it.
Exactly.
We'll say 4 if we want to include the 9,
Yep. If
maybe.
you have if you have less than 5, chances are the rest of the table is open as well and you have an open rack. So
Right.
those are two clues to help you make a decision if you're not sure. So this is the ideal situation, and we're going to put the pressure on you, Chris, because we said earlier that when you have solid fundamentals like you do, you should not miss.
I love it. I love it. Especially hold on, especially with 90 people watching.
Yeah, yeah. Don't miss. That's step 3. Okay. No. So that's the first step of rack analysis. We've determined we have an open table. What that means, if we don't have any clusters to open up, and probably you should be able to run this table without bumping another ball.
No, I'm notorious for
Now,
bumping
you
a
might.
ball, but
There are occasions where it is definitely strategic to bump balls, but we're going to set it as a goal. We would prefer not to. So
right.
that's the first thing. Okay. The very next step of every single rack after the break shot is to ask yourself, do I have a potential break shot for the next rack?
I have 3 of them according to what I see, which is the 15, the 1, or the 2. So it's a matter of choosing
Yes.
the best one.
You have, like I said, this is an open rack. You have one of the best situations possible in that you have 3 potential break shots. They're all on the same side of the table. A lot of times you'll have one on one side and one on the other, but
Yeah.
this is fine. Okay. The very next step after determining that you do have a break ball, by the way, if you did not have a break ball, your very next step would be to ask yourself, I need to make a break ball. How can I do it? And so hopefully that'll come up in another rack later. But
Okay.
you do have a potential break ball. So we're committing to one of these balls. We don't know which one yet. It could be the 15, it could be the 2, it could be the 1. You don't need to make a firm decision yet. There's too many variables. And it could easily be any of those and it will be successful. What is the next step, do you think?
Well, if I know what the last ball is going to be and my objective is to shoot that last ball and break out the rack, I'm definitely going to want to know what is the previous ball to that. That's going to allow me to have the angle on the break ball to make it and open the rack so I can continue my run.
Correct. And that's the key ball. And so the first place that you look for a key ball is directly above your potential break shot into the side pocket.
That immediately points to the 8 ball as far as I'm concerned.
It immediately points to the 8 ball. Now, the 8 ball is not a bad key ball for the 2 ball break shot. It's not very good if you're going to shoot the 15 as a break shot.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know yet what we're going to do, but what we're doing is identifying our options. And one thing, the simple thing that does is it prevents us from shooting those balls off early in the run. So the 8 ball is we call it potential because we're not sure yet, but it's a potential key ball for sure. The next potential key ball that I see is the 6. Because if you get a straight in shot on the 6 ball into either corner pocket, you're automatically on the 15 ball as a break shot.
Yes.
And you have that perfect inside angle that we like. Okay. So conceptually, we've done something very important here. How many balls are on the table?
I think I just
There's
moved 1.
14
Yeah, there's
balls. Okay.
14 still.
Yeah, 14 balls. How many balls did we just call out by number?
2 or 3. Well, no, all 3 break balls, including the 2
Yep.
possible key balls, would be 5.
5 of them. That's over 1/3 of the balls on the table we have just identified as balls that we do not want to shoot early in the rack. That's really important. Now it draws your attention to the other balls. How do I clear these other balls so that the end of my run has the 8 and the 6 and then one of these break balls?
But, but wait a minute. Is it bad that I really want to start with the 2 ball because it at least gets me into the rack?
It is horrible that you want to start with the two ball. That is,
Oh
I would
no.
never shoot the two ball first. Never.
Okay, okay, fair enough. I
Now,
can make this.
it wouldn't be the end of the world because you have three options as long as you keep the other two. So
Hmm.
what we're doing is we're rack analysis is a process that you're working through. So we started with what type of table do we have, then we went to the break ball and then the key ball. So those things have helped us a lot. Now it's taken us too long to talk about it.
Sure.
If you were in the middle of a run, you would perform those steps in less than 5 seconds.
Right.
Okay. So I just want to make that clear. So we're overthinking and overanalyzing just as a means of learning the process. Okay.
Absolutely. No, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So now the next step, we've identified key ball, potential key balls, and we could also identify potential K2 balls. What I mean is this: the 6 ball could be a very good K2 ball for the 8 ball. Because if you get close to straight in on that 6 in either corner pocket, the cue ball doesn't have to move very far at all. And you have a stop shot on the 8, which gives you a perfect angle on the 2 ball as a break shot.
Yep.
So there's possibilities there. Okay. So now you go to the next step. And the next step is to ask yourself, what are my trouble balls?
Based on what I learned, I mean, obviously clusters are trouble balls, but we've identified
Right.
there's really no clusters
There
on
aren't any
here. But
clusters. Yeah.
as far as straight pull is concerned, is balls that are near rails.
Yes. So
So
there's
that would
several
tell
types.
me the 10 ball, the 6 ball, the 11 ball, maybe not the 4 because the 4 goes here in the side.
Right.
But if the 4 was a little bit closer, that would certainly be one. So I would say the 11, 10, 6, and 5.
So I identify trouble balls. There's four main types of trouble balls, and you just named them: clusters, rail balls, and then the other two are blocker balls and up table balls. Now you have a bit of an advantage. It's an advantage. It's a double-edged sword, and you're on an 8-foot table. The advantage is up table balls aren't as big of a problem as they are on a 9-foot table because it's easier
Right.
to get up and down. Okay. But you have a slight disadvantage in that you're closer to your work and you have to play better cue ball.
Yep.
Okay. So there are no clusters. You have two up table balls. You have, the 7 and the 5. You have two rail balls. The 11 ball I'm not concerned about because that's an excellent ball to use to transition to move your cue ball around. The 10 ball is the biggest rail trouble ball that I see, and it's not a big problem. It'll be easy to get on that and get rid of it.
Right.
But what the important point about the 10 ball is, the 10 ball is a blocker to the 6. So when you see a blocker ball, it should trigger something in your mind that says, if I can, I want to get rid of that early, because you don't want to have only 4 balls left on the table and have to shoot the 10 and make the cue ball travel all over the place to try and get back around to the 6. So
Okay.
blocker balls are very important. So you've got another blocker ball situation, and you already pointed it out with the 3, 9, 12. Because the 9 and the 12, you can't shoot right now. They're blocked by the 3. But once you remove the 3, then both of those go in the right corner pocket. So what we've just done, right, what we've just done in this step is determined that the 10 ball and the 3 ball are the two most important balls that we need to address first. And that doesn't mean you have to cut the 10 ball right now. It
Right.
means you need to look at the table and try and find a way to get an easy shot on the 10 and to get the correct angle on the 3. And then you can deal with it. Now, if you got 10 straight pool players in a room right now to look at this, you would get 10 different ways to make that happen. and that's part of the beauty of straight pool, is that every player's personality can come out. And then there's one other thing that I would point out. The up table balls are a trouble ball. We're calling them a trouble ball. They're not difficult. You're going to be able to get position on the 5 and the 7 and pocket them. It's not a big deal. What you want to decide before you begin, Do you want to remove them now, or do you want to save them for the end of the rack? Because um, um, the old time straight pool players before the 1950s, they had a hard and fast rule that said if you had up table balls, go get them immediately, and that's the way that they played. But the game has changed with higher quality tables, faster cloth, and better cues and equipment. And it's not an imperative to go get the up table balls right away anymore, in my opinion. In fact, you could save the 5 and the 7 for the very end of your end pattern and use them to get position on the 6 to as your key ball or as the K2 to get on the 8. So it's a
Right.
decision you want to make. You might choose to shoot them now, or you might choose to shoot them later. It's up to you. Neither way is wrong. But so I can tell you've been looking at the table as I've been yakking. And do you have an idea on how to address the 3 and the 10?
Well, uh, the first thing that came to my mind was still the two ball. That's why I jokingly asked about it, because
Okay.
I kind of thought about from the 2 to the 11, and then the 11 leads me to the 3. But if
Okay.
I want to say let's remove that off the table, then I think, well, I have a medium difficult cut shot here on the 5. I don't think I'm going to attempt to hold position on the 7, because I'm going to end up leaving the 7 alone. I would come over here for the 4 to shoot
Right.
into this corner here, which automatically leads me to the 3.
Uh huh.
Now,
Yeah.
as far as the 10 is concerned, I'd have to get flat on a ball. So that like if I wanted to do the 10 right now, I would end up shooting the 1, because then
Right.
I can float over and deal with the 10. Possibly
Right.
bump into the 6. I don't know if I want to do that. Like I said, I'm notorious for bumping into balls. but that's what I see right now. I see two solutions to get to the 3, and one solution right now to get to the 10 from this position.
What you've just described is excellent. And I'll tell you the reason why. We talked about the word the term key ball for the break shot. It's the
Mm-hmm.
ball that sets you up for your break shot. Well, the entire table is full of key balls.
Right.
So you talked about using the 4 to get on the 3. That makes the 4 ball a key ball to get on the 3. You talked about using the 1 to get on the 10. The 1 is the key ball to get on the 10. This is how you successfully navigate a table that might look confusing, is by identifying what ball gets me on another ball. That's the whole key to navigating this confusing mess. So um, there's no wrong way to start. If I'm looking at this table right now, I don't mind shooting the 1 ball right now. And the
Okay.
reason is I prefer the 2 or the 15. The 2 is closer to the rack than the 1, so that makes it a better break shot than the 1. And the 15 isn't bad because I have an excellent key ball in the 6 and I have that ideal angle that we just talked about. So for
Okay.
that reason, I don't mind removing the 1. I I also don't mind shooting the 5 ball,
Mm-hmm.
but it's personal choice. It's personal choice,
Right.
and you can work it from here. Now, remember, every ball in straight pool leads to another ball. So if you shoot the 1 ball to get on the 10, it's the same concept as 9 ball. You always look 3 balls ahead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or 2 balls ahead of your next shot. So if you get on the 10, what are you going to shoot after the 10, and
Well, more
why?
than likely, I would want to get the angle on the 11 that I need, that will allow me to hopefully get the angle I want on the 3. So that way I can deal with this little area right here. My only concern, even about doing that, is the angle does have to be perfect, because I can get the wrong angle and ruin any of these break balls.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. What you just described is perfect, and I think that's what you should shoot. So you're going to shoot the 1 to get on the 10, and when you shoot the 10, you need to preserve an angle on the 11 so that you can come up and get on the 3.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's foolproof. If you mess up and get dead straight on the 10 or something else happens, you also have an opportunity to shoot the 9 from there, I think.
Let me look. Yes, I do.
You do. The reason why I point that out is a lot of times people will watch really good players, like watch Thorsten Homan, and you watch him play, and he never has a difficult shot to shoot. And it looks like he had the entire rack mapped out from the beginning. And you're like, oh my God, how did he do that? Well, I'm going to let you on a secret. He didn't have every shot mapped out. What he does is he's always playing position in such a way that he has a shot, whether the cue ball goes short or long or where he wanted.
That's zone positioning, basically.
Yeah, yeah. And so it looks the cue ball stops and he gets down and shoots the shot immediately. And you're like, he knew exactly what he was going to shoot. No, he didn't. He made his choice based on where the cue ball stopped because he played a positional route that gave him options. And so
Okay.
when you shoot the 10, when you shoot the 1, it's because when you shoot the 10, you will have an option to play position for the 9 or the 11. When you get your angle on the 11, you can send the cue ball 2 rails knowing that you will have the option to shoot either the 3 or the 4 or the 8, depending on
Right.
exactly where it stops. Okay. Let her rip.
All right.
Look at him switch to lefty. Okay, question for you.
Yes.
How do you feel about your angle on the 11?
I'm a little flat than I would like. I can still 2-rail it, but I don't see
Right.
me getting position on the 3 ball.
Right. So I talked about failure points in straight pool.
Yep.
So this is a potential failure point because you're flat on the 11. And a lot of people would say, oh, well, that's the failure point was this position. No, the failure point was when you shot the 1 ball
Yep.
because you left yourself where you couldn't stop the cue ball or bounce the cue ball off the rail. And this
Right.
is what I say. You always look for a ball that leads to a ball that leads to a ball, same as 9 ball. And so you're playing for your angle. So that's what you want to pay attention to. Okay. Anyway, it's okay. It's not the end of the world at all. What I would do now, I don't know if you have the ability to come up for the 3. If you don't, I would just play position 2 rails for the 4.
Yeah, it's gonna be a flat 2-railer though, because I
Yes,
hardly have any wiggle room here.
I hear you. Yeah. So that's going to work. I would have hit it harder so that I have the other angle on the 4, because then you can shoot the 4 in the upper corner and it's easier to hold the cue ball.
Fair.
See what I mean? Yeah.
Yep.
And the other reason, even if it goes too far, you might have the 13 in the side.
I currently have the 13 in the side from here as
Okay.
well.
Okay. So we're still okay. You see how quickly things can go astray?
Yep.
Yeah. So you're still okay. You have shots. And most people would say, oh, what's the problem? The problem is we've got to deal with that 3 ball. And if we don't get there, this rack becomes very hard. Now, you might be able to shoot the 12-9 combination or end up with something else.
Nope.
But
that is a thing. The 12-9 combination
sure.
is not too difficult.
Right. But remember what we talked about earlier. What's the best way to run a straight pool rack?
One
Make
ball
it
at a
boring.
time.
Make
Yeah,
it boring.
make it boring.
And so we've made it a little bit adventurous. So now you have a decision. You could shoot the 4 or the 13, and that's a personal choice, whichever shot you're most comfortable on. But either one that you choose, you have to have a plan for how to get to that 3 ball or to the combination. You always have to have a plan that you're working for.
So you see how soft of a shooter I can be.
Yes.
So provided, of course, that my accuracy is there, I don't really see an issue with me shooting the 13, except I might have to bridge over the 2 because I was thinking 13, 4, and then the 4 can get me back to the 4 on the side, and then the 4 on the side can get me back to the 3.
That's good. Are you able to stop the cue ball with a stop shot, or you just want to slow roll it?
I can do that. The only reason why I mention rolling it is because I have to elevate to do the stop shot.
Yeah, if you think elevating is gonna decrease the pocketing percentage, then you should go the other route. Now you could consider a longer route. If you can follow the cue ball forward past the 8, then you can go 13, 5, 7, 4, 3.
Correct.
You see that pattern?
Yep.
Yeah. So either way is fine. What's important is that you have a plan and you commit to it so that you don't have any doubt when you're down on the shot.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and attempt the stop shot, though.
Okay. Sweet.
Good enough.
Now, this next shot is critical. So I want you to do what I mentioned before on the break shot. Walk over to the 4 ball and look at the 3. And I know that a lot of people, and I'm a fast player, and whenever I skip this step, I mess up. So on a shot like this, yeah, you're looking at the shot line, and you want to make sure you're on that line or below it, so that you don't run into the 9 or 12. Now, it's
Correct.
not the end of the world if you do have to run in the 9 or 12, but we're seeking positional routes that are as close to 100% successful as we can. So that's why
Right.
it's important to just take a split second and look at the angle. Yeah.
All right, so let's see if I can get flat on the 3 then. And I did.
And you didn't. Okay, so you had a plan, and the plan failed. So now what do? You need a new plan.
Correct.
So what do you want to do here?
Well, what I can see, if I'm guesstimating this correctly, because that's usually what it is I can still pocket the 3. And the way it looks like I'm going to run into this is I'm going to run into this side of the 12, which is going to push it this way, which should still leave it set up. And I might even bump the 9 as well, because I'm not going to hit this too terribly hard. So I think I will still have a shot at the 12. But if I have a shot at the 12, then the entire rack is solved. I just have to figure out the rest of the end pattern.
That's a real good way of looking at it. And this is in concepts about how to open up clusters. But I don't like going forward here, because you might knock the 9 ball straight to the bottom rail and you don't have a shot on it.
Okay.
What I see is a below center hit, just a pinch of draw the cue ball into the 12, and that'll knock the 12 either to the bottom rail or towards the corner. And the reason why the cue ball should back up kind of halfway between the 3 and the cue balls where it is right now. You're going to have a shot on either the 8 in the side, the 9 in the left corner, or the 12 in the right corner. So options. Rather than trying to commit, we're keeping our options open since we're not quite sure exactly where everything's going to go. But that looks like a controllable shot, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we'll give it a try. You said just a pinch of draw?
Yeah, just a pinch. You want the cue ball to hit the 12 and come off the 12 about 6 inches.
All right.
Sweet. Now, it didn't come as far as you wanted, but what you did is the most important thing in straight pool. It's about the cue ball. It's about position. You controlled the cue ball. There was no guesswork with the cue ball. So you could still cut the 2 if you wanted. You could shoot the 8 in the corner. You could even shoot the 2 in the side. So you've kept the cue ball alive. That's what's important.
Okay.
So now an alarm bell has to go off. Remember we talked about the rack being solved?
Yes.
So in this instance, we started with a table that was wide open. So there really wasn't a point where clusters were open and it was solved. But we had to deal with trouble balls. Guess what? Your trouble balls are gone. The 10 and 3 are both gone.
Right.
Every ball is very wide open. And so this is the point where I would stop for a moment and take a little bit of extra time. You're in the end pattern now.
Okay.
Yep. You are in the end pattern. So you want to pick a more definitive route that allows you to navigate through these balls. And you want to, now it might change because as we know, things don't always go the way that we hope, but you have to start with a plan, especially at this point. So what do you think? What do you see?
Well, I mean, at any given point, I'm bound to miss one of these.
No, you-
um, but in all seriousness, like if I were to try to build an ending pattern, I have chosen my 15 in the pattern that I'm seeing right now. I have chosen the 15 ball as the next break ball, and my 6 ball is going to be the key ball to do that.
okay. Okay.
Now, this might not be the greatest pattern in the world. I already know that that's my weakest point of the game so far. But I'm looking at 8 in the corner, leading to the
Yeah.
5, leading to the 7, leading to this 12, leading to this 9, hopefully for the 2 in the side. So that's what allows me to follow forward so I can get to the key ball, which is the 6.
Okay. That's one pattern, and that is workable, and it's a reasonable pattern. I like it in that you kind of describe a circle around the table,
And let
starting
me
with
let
the
me
eight.
let
It
me
kind
add
of
let me
goes
add one more thing about the
clockwise.
nines of the 2. Let me add one more
Yeah.
thing about the nines of the 2. If I don't
Yeah.
get the 2 in the side, I get the 2 in the corner and still follow up
And
to get
still
behind the
follow up.
6.
Right. Now, I'm gonna that's a good idea. Everything's workable. It depends on your position being correct on several different shots.
Correct. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be the
Yeah.
big thing.
So I'm looking at a different pattern.
Okay.
And so and here's how you figure it out. I'm not sure what it is yet, but we're going to figure it out together right now. How do you figure out your end pattern? It's the same as how do you run a rack of 8 ball? You start at the end and go
Yeah, you
backwards.
typically go backwards. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So what I'm seeing, and I like the idea of committing to the 15 as a break ball, and the 6 is a perfect key ball. And one of the reasons why the 6 is perfect is you don't have to get straight. Even if you get a variety of slight angles, you can still hold the cue ball for a good angle on that break shot. Okay.
Right.
All right. So now we're asking yourself, what's the best K2 ball for the 6? It might be the 5.
Yes, I would agree with that.
It might be the 5. And that's why we might want to save the 5. But we need a K3 to get on the 5. And what's that? What's that ball? So I'll give you a little piece of advice. When you're looking for the K2 for the key ball, you look diagonally across the table or in opposite pockets. And that's the reason why the 5's good for the 6, because you're shooting each one into a pocket that's opposite from each other.
Right.
I like the 2 ball as a K3 for the 5 because they're opposite from each other. So now you're not having to follow the cue ball and play position.
Okay.
Stop shot on the 2 gets you near to a stop shot on the 5, which gets you to a stop shot on the 6. Stop, stop, stop. That's what we would hope for. And so that may not be possible, but it looks like it might be. And I like the idea of, well, I don't know. There's a variety of ways to do it. You could shoot the 8 and come forward to shoot the 7, 15, 9, 2. And so your last 4 balls or your last 3 balls would be 2, 5, 6. That's a
Okay.
possibility. I'm not seeing a real a perfect pattern yet, because I'm talking a lot too. The 9 ball is a pretty sharp cut, isn't it?
Yes, I mean it's a cut. Everybody has watched me plenty of times that this is a cut that I'm more than
Yeah,
comfortable with. But my
yeah,
cue ball is coming like down here,
yeah. So
like
the 8
almost
ball
no
is the
matter
right
what.
shot. So the 8 ball is the right shot. Now, based on what I just said, and this we're going to be splitting hairs here. It's easy to shoot the 8 and then the 5 and the 7, right? Because
Absolutely.
each one leads right naturally to each other. Whereas if you try to shoot the 8 and play position for the 7, now you got to roll forward, and I mean, if you're playing 9 ball, it's a hanger. You're going to do that all day long. But this is straight pool, and we're trying to play positional routes that are way simpler and easier. And
Hmm.
so what you have to ask yourself, do I want to abandon the 5 ball as a K2 ball? And it might be more important to abandon the 5 as a K2 ball because it's a better positional route. And so that's fine. And if you do that, now which ball is your key ball? I prefer shooting the 2 in the corner, in the bottom left corner as a K2 ball. Because depending on what angle you get, there's a variety of ways to get above or even below the 6 and shoot it in either corner pocket.
Just to clarify, you said bottom
Yeah.
left. Are you talking about that?
No, bottom, no,
This one.
this one. 2 ball in that pocket. Yep.
This one here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But I don't see there's no great. The best ball to play position on that shot would be the 8, but you got to shoot the 8 now.
Correct.
So, yeah. So I think 8, 5, 7, 10, 9. Those shots lead to each other with really, really high percentages. That's a really good route. The hardest shot is going to be getting from the 9 to the 2, and that's not very hard.
Right.
And you might end up following it in the side the way that you mentioned. So there's a
Okay.
long-winded explanation of how to look at your end pattern.
Now the critical part. Don't miss.
Yeah, don't miss.
Let's see here. And I think I missed. Oh, it's still in it. Never mind.
All right. Let me
All right.
I want to let me give you a little bit of advice on that shot. Don't slow roll it. Shoot that ball into the back of the pocket with a stop shot. Because you don't need to be where you are. You could shoot the 5 ball from where the 2
okay.
ball
So,
was.
so let me clarify then.
Go
In all
ahead.
actuality, I was trying to play position for the 7 since we did talk about
Oh,
playing
you
since we
were.
did talk about leaving the 5. So the reason
Oh,
being though is if I don't get a controllable position on the 7, I still have the shot on the 5 to do the original route.
I approve. You kept your options open. I love it.
Yes, that's the reason
You
why I
know,
shot it that way.
you know what
Because
else I thought of
yes,
as you were down
or
on the
no, I don't.
ball, and I didn't want to interrupt you. You generally wouldn't want to do this on a 9-foot table, but it works. On this table, it would absolutely be correct to use the 5 ball as your key ball for the break shot, as long as you get the right angle on it. But we didn't talk about that, so we're going with this other pattern.
Oh no, absolutely. The only difference would be is that my break shot would just be a longer shot because I'm
Yeah,
further away. I'm further away from the break wall.
yeah, but you could get an angle to draw the cue ball down by the side pocket, and you'd be fine. So I really like what you're doing. Go for it.
So if I truly want to try to leave the 5 ball alone, I have a good angle to go from the 7 to the 12, but then I
Okay.
have to make sure that the angle that I get from the 12 to the 9 allows me to either. Actually, I'm more than likely going to have to use the short rail and come out for the 2, so that way I can do the stop, stop, stop pattern that you were
Exactly.
talking about.
Exactly. So that tells you that the last place you want to be is straight in on that 12.
Correct.
You want an angle. Yep. There you go. You got it.
All right. So, do I just follow one rail up, or do I bump the side rail to guarantee me an angle?
I
think
can't
it's
see
this.
what angle you have. So.
I can follow straight up, and I'll be coming along
Oh,
the
I got
side
you. I
rail,
got you.
which is gonna make me flat on it. So I do think I'm gonna bump the side rail to guarantee me an angle.
Gotcha.
Well, I would have liked to bump it a little harder than that.
Yep. That's the. This is a real good point, and it comes up in 9 ball a lot too. Anytime that your object ball is within 1 ball diameter of the rail, you have the ability to hold the cue ball.
Yeah.
Even if your cue ball is twice as far from the side rail as it is now, you'd still be able to pocket the 12 and hold the cue ball for that 9.
Yep.
Yep.
And by doing
So now you got
so,
to
this
decide.
is this is what it would look like, which is doable if I can actually access the cue ball. Because then I would just have to. The problem is I would have to hard stun it just to be able to do that. Otherwise, I would have to try to do the 2 in the side.
I like shooting the 2 and drawing the cue ball back like 4 to 7 inches
Oh,
because
shoot.
then I can cut the 9, go to the bottom rail, and just come back out to center table for the 2.
You mean I heard you just say cut the 2 or shoot
No,
the 2
no,
now.
no. Shoot the 12 now
Okay.
and just draw back 4 to 7 inches. So you have an angle on the 9 that sends the cue ball to the bottom rail and up. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Oops. Oops. This happens. This happens. So.
Well, I mean, I can still work with this. It's just now it's 2 9 5 6.
I'll tell you, I mentioned this earlier. You always have to have a plan. You have to have a plan, but be ready to change your plan because it will change more often than you think. And that's what just happened to you. So,
Right.
but by approaching the rack the way we did, your options are still open. And as you said, you can go 2-9. That's very reasonable. And I'll give you a little tip. When you're in competition, if you're playing a straight pool tournament and this happens to you, don't look surprised.
Right.
you you want to act like that's exactly what you were trying to do.
All right,
So
let's see
now
here.
you obviously you want to stay clear of that 15. And I saw you check
Yeah.
your angle, so that's good. This is like perfect right now. You see how we don't want positional routes that have a 95% chance of success. We want 99.5% chance of success. And that's what you've done.
Now I'm just thinking to myself because I want to jinx myself right now. Let me get through the first rack on this very first demonstration because that would be awesome. Rather than I could screw up all I want after this first attempt, but let's just get through the first attempt.
I have faith in you, Chris. I've seen you. You
as
can
I
do
jinx, as I jinx myself talking about it.
it. How
But
about
we're
that?
also
Just
we're,
perfect.
we're also trying to make sure we entertain the 100+ people that are watching, which is super awesome.
Sweet. How could that many people be interested in a boring game like straight pool? It's not possible.
Right?
Now,
But I got it.
did you think about your key ball yet?
Well,
Be
I
careful.
mean,
I've
if I
screwed
play,
this up by shooting the 5 and my cue ball stops parked on the rail and I can't hold it for my break shot. So
yeah,
it's
no,
important
because
to look.
I have the correct angle to where the cue ball should not be on the rail, and I'll have a slight angle on the 6 to where I can possibly bump the rail,
Yes,
but not. I don't think I have any danger of bumping it and like losing the back
right,
cut angle that I'm gonna want.
right. You got it. That's the important point. You want to make sure that you're straight in or a slight angle where the cue ball goes into the rail.
And actually, the more I look at this, I think I'm gonna bump the side rail.
Okay. There you go. And now when you shoot your break shot, you don't want the cue ball on the rail, but even just a little bit off the rail is fine. So however you can
Right.
accomplish that.
All right, folks,
All right.
hit the thumbs up button. I got through the first rack on the first
Everybody
attempt.
send those clapping hand emojis. Good job.
Oh my gosh, that is so pressuring. I would not be near as pressured if it was just me and Bob talking about this.
And I hope everybody understands too that how long did that rack take? It took way too long. But if you're playing by yourself, that thought process it doesn't take very long. It's just 1 or 2 seconds between shots.
Here's the
Once
here's
you
the
get used
here,
to it.
here's the coup de grace. I'm gonna screw this up.
Hey man, no negative thoughts now. Yeah, there you go. Look at your line. This is the same. Although the object ball is in a little bit different position, it's the same shot you shot to open this rack, the
Right.
previous rack. Just focus on that ball, straight cue, high cue ball, and give it a nice medium firm stroke. What did the cue ball do?
Went straight to the rail and came back and didn't touch another ball. And look,
How
this
did
is
we
this.
know it was going to do that? Are we mind readers? Can we see the future? Yeah. So it becomes predictable once you get used to it.
All right, this is definitely a clustered rack, or
Right.
I would even, yeah, no, this is a clustered rack.
I agree. Even though there's only 3 balls directly in the rack area, they're very close. They're not quite touching, but they're very close. The 1 and the 3 are very close, and then the 4 and the 9 are might be kind of an issue. So yeah, it's clustered.
So let me ask you a question, because I've received plenty of comments before. Because I go back and watch all my live streams, so that way I can see, like, there's plenty of live chats that I'm missing right now because I obviously can't read them when I'm
Yeah,
here at the table. But I've been told plenty of times that I don't pick my break ball soon enough, and I did explain in my last live stream, like you said, when if I'm not vocalizing everything, like, it's already been predetermined because I've like the pace at which you do all this just rapidly starts to increase. But when I get
right.
into situations like this, my concern is solving the, like, since this is a clustered rack, my concern is solving the rack before I
Yes.
even think about a break ball. Is that the right way to approach it?
Almost.
Almost. Okay.
The first step is identifying a potential. So I'm calling it a potential break shot. So obviously the one ball is a potential break shot. Now, in the process of solving this cluster, that one might get moved.
Right.
And we've got to keep the cue ball alive. We've got to keep it where we have a shot. And if that means transitioning to the 12 or the 13 as a break shot or something else, then that's what we have to do. You can't sacrifice the run trying to preserve a break ball.
And
So
I've run into plenty of occasions like that, where I
yeah,
said I've identified this ball, but now I've
yeah,
gotten so bad that I have to shoot the break ball and try to create something else.
something else. And so we call it a potential break ball. So you have to identify it as a potential so that perhaps your plan can open up the rack without moving it, if you can.
So, but does that mean ideally though that I have to open it up this way?
I like opening those balls from below.
So from here, so this way then send them this
That
way.
would that would be the ideal way. And the reason why, we don't know if we can do this, but let's say that the cue ball was against the bottom rail below the 10. Okay?
So like here
On the
or on the
bottom
other.
rail. On the short rail. Yes,
Okay, so
right there.
I'm probably in the way. So somewhere right around here.
Yeah. So then you could cut the 13 in the corner. The cue ball automatically goes right up into that three ball cluster softly, and you have the 10 and the 12 as insurance balls.
Gotcha. Okay. I thought you meant, like, can we shoot the 10 into the
No, 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 no,
corner and then
no.
push into it? So never mind. Okay. The 10 is the cue ball.
Or
Or
no, even against the bottom rail. The cue ball's on the bottom rail, right against the cushion.
oh, so well, here, let me just do this then. You're,
There you
you're,
go.
you're talking about
Right there.
this.
Yep, that's what I'm talking
Okay.
about.
Okay.
So I'm not saying we can get the cue ball there. I'm just mentioning it as an example of a very classical straight pool cluster opening shot. You work from the bottom up into the cluster, leaving the other balls as insurance balls. And
Gotcha.
that
Okay.
situation is going to come up over and over and over and over. So that's the type of thing that I'm kind of looking for. I actually don't think we can get there in this rack, but
So
I
here's
just wanted to point that
here's
out.
my counter though, because you did specify this side, because I
Yeah.
can get that angle from the 5, but
Hey,
but
hey,
I'm going this way
that's
into
okay.
it.
Well, here's the thing. As long as if you get a low angle on the 13, the cue ball is going to head towards the 2. As long as
Mm-hmm.
you don't hit the 12, the cue ball will probably hit the 2 and then go towards the 3. The 3 ball is a problem ball. It's a blocker for the 1. So if you bump the 3 ball over, you're good. And then you've got the 12 as your insurance ball back the other way. So it's
Okay.
okay. That's good. I like
Okay.
that plan. I like that plan. Yeah. Again, there's multiple ways of getting things to happen. And your first shot is difficult because your cue ball's on the rail.
Right, but then the next issue that I see is these two,
Right.
because I think the 9 ball is accessible to the side
Okay.
pocket, but the thing is that, like, the 5 ball immediately leads me to these two to where I can possibly shoot them here,
Yeah.
and then that area is solved.
I call
But
that short side
I'm
position.
thinking about using the 5 to get to the
To get on
13
those.
to
Yep.
deal with this.
Absolutely. It's important. You pointed something out real important. Straight pool players play short side position more often than any other game. And it's because when you look at this, short side position gets you easily on the 4 or the 9 in that side pocket. So it's a high
Right.
percentage route, and it's a higher percentage than some type of shot that where you try to bump those balls.
Right.
So straight pool players just don't like bumping balls because bad things happen.
Okay.
So
Well, this all depends on what happens with the 6 because
correct.
I'm on the rail. I can't really
So,
control the cue ball. I kind of have to roll it.
so
So I
we're still doing this is the last rack before we let you run and try and run a record. But
okay.
so let's take a moment because I want to reinforce the idea of going through the steps.
Okay.
Step 1 was the type of table, which we've identified it's semi-clustered. Step 2
Yes.
is break ball. So we have a potential break ball. And then what's step 3? I forgot. Oh, step 3 is problem balls. So our problem balls are the 4, 9, and then these balls in the rack area, the 2, 7, 14, and 3. And then our other problem balls are the up table balls, but the cue ball's already up there. So
Right.
it seems like a formality. We've already done it for real, but I'm just pointing out that those are you do want to perform each of those steps mentally before you begin shooting. Okay. So
All right.
where can you get the cue ball after shooting that 6?
Well, what I'm concerned about because I have to put topspin on the ball is as I
Right.
watch the cue ball arc, is it going to arc into the 8 or is it going to pass? I would really like it to pass the 8. I don't want it to arc into the 8. If it
Right.
passes the 8, depending upon what type of angle I get on the 5, because if I do want to go from the 5 to the 13, I don't want to be on the rail because then I'm floating towards the 12 and the 13, which is what I don't want.
Right.
Then I have to come up with something else. So I know the cue ball
Right.
is more than likely going to like arc this way, and I almost want to be either fairly flat or just even a small angle to where I can bump into the side rail just to come up underneath
Yeah.
the 13 ball.
So you don't want to hit it hard enough that you have a chance of scratching the side, but you do want to hit it hard enough to get past the 8. Or if the cue ball runs straight into the 8, you don't want to freeze to it. You want to make sure you tap it away so that you can
Exactly.
still see the 5. Yeah.
Exactly.
Great.
There's that arc, but it goes right past it. Okay, so
That went
I
right
think I'm
past
okay
it.
with that.
And I didn't know if you had that angle. If you were sure that that was going to happen, you could have played position for the 8 ball there. And then you're
True.
removing that up table trouble ball and use the
Well,
8 to get on the 5.
that makes it more interesting though, right? Because the harder I hit this ball, the further it travels into the tangent line, and I might have actually bumped into the 8, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, and you might knock the 8 to where you have a combination 8-5, and you don't want that.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
All right, so I have the line to the 5, so I can hopefully just follow to the short rail. I kind of want to bump off the short rail. I don't want to really land on it. Give me a little bump.
That's going to work great. Now, this is a little bit tricky because you don't want to hit that 12. That 12 is a good ball for you. That's an insurance ball. So you want to make sure
Right.
even if the cue ball does not hit the 2, it'll hit the 7-3 and you're going to be good.
Okay. This is pretty much
And
a
you don't
little
have to
bit.
hit this hard. This is a gentle shot. You want your cue ball to kind of get trapped there and not move very far.
Right.
God, that's ideal. You hit all 3, the 2, 7, and the 3. That was perfect. Now,
Okay.
oh,
Now I got to
that
deal
was
with
a
this.
perfect shot. Exactly. You want to address your problem balls immediately. So, do you have an angle on the 12 to get short side on those 2 balls?
I think so.
I really like that if you do.
Yeah, I think I
And
do.
and the,
It's a punch move because I'm hitting like
right,
probably seven eighths of the 12 ball.
right. I love it because you're playing position for 2 balls, so you have a wide position zone. You're doing it early. That means
Oh, that's not going to cut
oh,
it.
that means if you mess up like this, you'll have more opportunities to recover.
Right.
If you wait, then and you mess up, then you can't recover.
I mean, I
So
could
not
shoot them. They're shootable, but they're
sure.
hard cut shots.
They're hard cut shots, and you have an easier shot on the 14 or even the 8.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about the 8 because if I shoot the 14, I'm going into this, and I don't want to disturb this.
Right. It wouldn't be the end of the world to bump the 7 shoot the 14 and bump the 7 because then you'll have a shot on the 2. But you are risking the 7 going someplace bad.
Right. So
The
these balls go places, so I don't
the
want to
go
put them in worse
the,
spots than they
the
are.
the drawback with shooting the 8 now is you're using up your soldiers to get to that problem.
Right.
And so you want to be playing to a specific shot from that 8 to get you on to deal with those trouble balls.
Well, um, this is like 9-ball positioning,
It
but
is. Yeah.
if I get on the 14 from here, I bump right into them.
And then after you bump them, the 7 is your insurance ball. So no matter what happens, you got in your next shot.
Yep.
The other reason I like what you just said is even if you don't get the right angle on the 14, you will have a shot on the 3,
On the
and you can
3.
use the 3 to get that angle.
All right.
So shortstop approves.
All right. So the thing is my target is like right near this pot. Like I'm going to be flirting with the side pocket with the route that I'm thinking about taking here.
I like it, and I like 2 rails because then your cue
Yep.
ball is going to be off the rail. Yep.
Yep. And I think I'm too high. Yeah,
Are
I
you?
have the shot on the 14, but I'm going into my 7,
Right.
1, and 2, which I don't want to do.
So you could check. I know you mentioned earlier. You could check. Does a stop shot on the 2 allow you to pocket the 9 in the other side, the one it's close to?
Does a stop shot on what?
Does a stop shot on the 14 give you position to shoot the 9 ball in the side that it's closest to?
Well, I don't have the ability to stop. The cue ball's
Oh,
coming this
okay.
way.
Gotcha. Okay. All right then.
So I think at the very least,
I see 2 routes. One would be to shoot the 3 and draw back to get the angle that you want on the 14.
yes,
And I like it because if you don't draw far enough, you could have a shot on the 2 to accomplish something.
yes,
Your other option is to leave yourself on an angle to your other option is to shoot the 3 and give yourself an angle on the 10 to get back short side on those 4 9.
okay.
I think that's a much tougher route. I like
So
shooting the 3 and drawing back.
here's the thing though.
Okay.
Or I have a question.
Yes.
We're currently trying to solve this, the 4-9.
Yes.
And in
Correct.
doing so, we're pecking off, like you said, we're pecking off a lot of soldiers. We identified at least this guy early on as the potential, and so far we're maintaining him.
Right.
But we haven't identified a K2 ball, a K3 ball, or like when would that come into play?
We skipped that. We forgot, and we should have looked at that. Let's do it now.
Okay.
So the best key ball would be right where you just had your cue stick across from the side pocket, but we don't have that ball. So because let's see, because there's 8 balls left and we still have trouble to deal with, it's actually going to be difficult to identify a key ball. But in my opinion, the 3, the 10, the 7, and the 2 are all workable.
Mm-hmm.
So we have options. Like you said, we got to deal with that trouble before we run out of options because we are
Right.
shooting off the soldiers. So I think you make a very good point. We need to have that on our mind, but it's not. It actually isn't the highest priority because if we don't deal with the 4-9, we're in trouble.
Then the run's over.
Right.
And but see, that's kind of what I meant by like I don't really consider this until I turn the rack until I turn it into a solved state.
Exactly. That's why I always call it potential key balls because anything can change. But if you don't identify the potentiality, then you might shoot it off when you could have done something else. So it affects your decision making.
Okay, so I think I have a route. It all depends on how well this shot works. I'm committed to the 3 ball. I can.
Right.
It's a little bit of an angle, but I can kind of throw it in so that way I can hit it flat to try to draw
Gotcha.
back for the angle that I want on the 14 to break this up.
Right.
And then based on the way everything else looks, it all really depends on what happens really with these two. But
It sure does.
I am kind of looking at the 10 ball as my key ball to play into that
Right.
corner pocket from this angle here, so that way the cue ball comes here and then comes out for the 1.
I like it.
That's at least what I'm thinking, but it all really depends what happens here.
Sure does.
So let's see
I,
if I can do this.
I know you can do it, Willie Moscone.
That doesn't shark me at all.
How's that for perfection?
All
Now,
right.
you know what to do now. You've got to make a decision on what part of what ball you're going to hit and what's going to happen to him.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I just want to run right into the middle of them, because then I have my 7 that's going to hold me.
I like it. I like doing that, and because it's going to control the cue ball for the 7. And then I would add one thing: speed control, such that the 9 ball bounces off the rail,
Off the
and you could
rail, yes, because they're
potentially.
both going towards the rail.
Then you might have the 9 in the side to play position on the 4.
Right. Oh,
Too
okay.
soft. Oh, but it
Nope.
worked out good. It wasn't too soft. You know your table better than I do.
All right, so I lost the 7, but I have the 9 just sitting here. But
Yep.
I do have to bridge over. Do I want to send the 9 down table, or I mean the cue ball down table, or do
Yeah.
I just want to slow roll it and take a longer shot? I have the 1, but I don't want to shoot the 1.
I think you're in good shape. You don't need to shoot the 1. I would shoot the 9 in the side, and what I would be focusing on is center table or short of center table, because that's
Okay.
going to give me a shot on that 4 ball,
Okay.
and then I'll be in line to complete the rest of the rack. I like it, and I'll make an interesting point here. We often think of excellent position play being the cue ball close to the object ball, but I'll give you something to consider. The closer the cue ball is to the object ball, the sharper your cut angle is going to be if you misplay your speed.
Yep.
And so by leaving your cue ball farther away from the 4 ball here, you've given yourself a much larger margin of error to play position for the rest of the rack. So
Absolutely.
I think that was a perfect way to shoot it. So I saw you look at your angle. Now is the time where you want to pick the pattern for these last 4 balls.
Yeah, and like it's my concern is, I'm putting so much pressure on this shot to hold position for the 7 that I can just blow the shot. Because
Okay.
if I do it, then it's 7-2, 10-1. Like there it is. Otherwise, I can let my stroke out a little bit and try to come out and go over. And as I'm coming up, I'll have position on the 2. But if I keep on coming, then I'll regain position back onto the 7.
If
But
you
I don't.
hit it too soft, you'll have to shoot the 1-7 combination.
Correct. So
um,
there's a lot of pressure on this shot on whether or not if I want to try to get position on the 2 or maintain position on the 7.
there is. It's personal preference, and it has to do with your preference and your knowledge of the speed of your table.
But I'm gonna go ahead and try to maintain it. See if I can get
Okay.
7.
Yep. That's exactly what I would do, and the reason is, you can ease it in with a little bit of left English, and the left English helps kill the cue ball.
Yeah. Now the problem is I have a back cut on the 7. I can try to draw it into the 2, but plenty of things could obviously go wrong. Otherwise, I'm forced to take the 10 out and try to use the 2 ball to get me position on the 1, which I can do, because if I come back at if I get position on the 10 like I wanted to get for the 1, if I'm over here, I would almost do the same exact thing with the 2. Shoot the 2 in there and come 2 rails around to try to get back over here for the 1.
I would say you nailed it. This isn't what we would call textbook, but it never was textbook from the beginning, because there never was a typical key ball in the side pocket. So
Right.
I like it. What I like doing is a soft draw into the 2. You might end up with a straight in shot on the 2 in the corner pocket. But if
Okay.
you don't, obviously you'll have the 10 and then you can play position. So that's my focus. Obviously, you don't need to. This is a very a soft draw, a very delicate shot. Just try and hit that 2 ball so that you get a straight in shot on it.
All right. Let's see what happens here.
Beautiful. So
Okay.
you have your choice.
Well, I don't like the two ball from here because it's a pretty sharp cut. Going
Yeah,
from the two to going from the 10 to the two is much easier.
right. Yeah, I think that's an easy decision. If you shot the 2, you'd have to use a bridge and a lot of inside English, and that's just
Yep.
too much. Too much.
So
So
now I'm looking at shooting the two, but I have to do this to come this way, and I certainly don't want to come short because then I have no break angle.
okay. Now you're not straight in on the 2, right? I mean on the 10, right?
No, so if I want to follow forward and come out to some sort of an angle on the two,
Right.
so that way maybe I can play one rail and come back out, or do a
Okay.
variety of things, I can do that.
So this is your decision. You either are going to have a low angle on the 2 so that you bounce off from the rail that you're touching and across table,
Right.
or you follow forward on the 10, you follow forward to, like you said, 2 rails to center table. What I would want to do is get a cut shot so that I can go 2 rails, shoot the 2 and go 2 rails around the 1.
Two rails around the one. Okay, I
Yeah.
see what you're saying.
And
Let me make sure.
of those 2 choices, going 2 rails around the 1 is the higher percentage
Okay.
to get good on your break ball. So you want to make sure you yeah, make sure you get a good angle on that too. Keep going, cue ball. Yeah, you'd want even farther. Um, I would have wanted the cue ball a foot farther to the right side. Yeah, right there,
Okay.
or even a little bit farther than that, because you
So
can hit the because the sharper angle you have, you can hit the 2 ball softly, and when you can hit it softly, you have more control over the speed to get to your
true.
break ball position.
True.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
I
you
can still
still have a
do it.
2 row out.
I can still do it, or I can just follow forward and let the cue ball just drag itself back out to the center of the table.
Uh-huh. That shot, I've shot that shot a lot, and it's tricky, it's touchy, and you can often end up with too flat of an angle on your break shot. I like the 2 rail route better.
You like the two rail route better.
I absolutely do. And
So
in
in
order to
order to
be
do that, my
yeah,
cue ball probably has to hit here,
yeah,
just to guarantee that I get around the one ball. If I hit here, I'm likely to run into it.
yeah, the most
Or I'm likely to get really far away from it, which I don't really want to do.
so if you choose to do the 2 rail route, what you need to do is pick a target on the second rail. And what you might do is just draw a line from the 1 ball straight across to the side rail,
Yeah, that'd be
and
right
that
here.
would be your target. So if your cue ball hits that target and then bounces off to you're playing speed control to center table, you're going to have a good angle on your break shot. Now
Okay.
you're not comfortable with this because you haven't done it a lot, but I think that's the higher percentage route.
I'm gonna go for the higher percentage route. Here we go. But this is what I was afraid of since I hit it too
Yeah.
hard.
Yep. That's now this is a real good shot to set back up and do again. And I think
Hold
it's
on.
good for
Hold
you and
on.
good for the viewers to watch.
I'm on 28.
Oh, you're right.
We're
You want to
we're,
keep going? We can do it after.
we're,
We'll set
we're
it up
gonna keep
after.
going.
We'll set it up after. All right. Fair enough.
You know how much pressure this is? I've got you in my ear. I've got over 100 people watching us, and I'm actually doing a
I
28 on the
I can
first
imagine.
attempt.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Yep.
On the
So,
first attempt.
all right. So, what do you know about this break shot?
Well, I have an angle, so I at least can go into the rack.
Right.
One thing I know for sure is I don't want to follow this because when I follow into it, I just follow right into the. I have a high
Correct.
potential of
Correct.
following it straight into the corner pocket. Um,
This
if I because I'm on what I think you referred to it as the outside, there is a
right.
really good likelihood of the cue ball sticking to the rack if I hit
Yeah.
the rack really wrong, and I will
Yes.
just not have a shot at all.
This is a this can be kind of touchy to get right, but I've seen you shoot it, so I know you can do it. But it's kind of a stun draw. So
Stun
you
draw.
want to,
Okay.
yeah, you want to hit just below center, so that, and you're going to hit this hard,
Right.
like we talked about. Outside angles, you got to hit them pretty hard. But you want the cue ball to stun into the 4, and it might hit the 9 too, but into the 4. All you want the cue ball to do is to kind of go back up to the center of the table, travel like a foot and a half at most.
Right.
And you're hitting it hard. Don't expect the whole rack to open up. What you're
Right.
going to do, imagine the energy is going to go into the 4 and travel to the right. So the 4 ball, the 2 ball, and the 5 ball are the balls that are going to come loose.
Right.
And they're going to go to the right side of the table. So you're hoping that your cue ball goes to center table, those balls come loose, and you get a shot in the side pocket or the corner. And you're probably going to have a pretty big cluster, but that's what the cards you're dealt, and so that's how you've got to hit it.
All right. Let's see what I can do.
Ooh, it went forward.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a shot I would like to see in slow motion. I'm trying to think what happened. You had to have hit
I mean, clearly,
maybe it hit the
if
9.
if I think about it, clearly that means I had to hit the top of the 9. And by
Yeah.
the time the cue ball got there, my stun draw was gone,
Right.
because it didn't back up at all. So it probably either slid or picked up just a slight bit of forward momentum. But I had to catch the top of the 9 to make that
Yes.
happen. I would think. I would think.
This is a really good example of an outside angle break shot. The reason why you shoot low and shoot with draw, your cue ball, if we look at it in slow motion, it drew and it curved to the side rail, and that kept it out of the scratch.
Right.
And so that path that your cue ball just took is actually very common for outside angle break shots.
All right. So this is obviously a clustered rack.
Yeah, and of the 3, there's clustered, semi-clustered, and open. This is the most clustered. And so this is the one where I see just a classic, excellent opportunity right away. Let's see if you see it. So
Well,
what I'm talking about is, because the rack, most of the balls are still in the rack area, this is where you want to attack it as soon as you can, and with insurance
really?
balls if you can. Okay.
Okay. So the problem is I can't see the 5. Like I would have to jump over the 13
Really?
just to get to the 5. Yes.
Oh, that sucks.
So
I thought you
actually
could see the 5
you're more,
from
since
here.
you're more of a straight pool person than I am. What is the rule of jump cues in straight pool, or just jump
No,
shots in general?
as far as I understand the rule, jump shots are not allowed.
Okay, fair enough.
So you can't intentionally elevate to lift the cue ball. Now, we all know that on some shots, the cue ball does leave the cloth a little bit, but that's not considered an official jump shot if you don't intentionally elevate to make it do that.
Right.
I,
Okay.
I believe if you look at the tape of Jason Shaw's 714, there was a couple of times when he jumped over the edge of a ball, but he
Okay.
didn't do it with a big elevation. It was just a little. It'd be hard for a referee to call it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the problem is that only leaves me the 2 ball. But that
Yeah.
means I got to do some fancy dancing around the table just to have a shot. Or if I wanted
Or
to, do I want to try to open the clutter up using the 2 ball, which is most likely a 2-rail route to do that?
take another look. What do you think of the 11-12 combination?
The 11-12 combination. Certainly doable, but not. It's not a wired combo. Like
Right.
this is probably the angle or the shot line to the 11 that gives me the 11-12. So if I'm obviously behind it, I make the shot more difficult. But I also send the cue ball into that 6-ball cluster.
Yeah. So I'm not saying it's the best shot. This is, when you have a clustered rack like this, you got to put on your creativity hat in order to keep the run going. It's not easy. It's just not going to be easy. And
Right.
so when you accept that, you can just make the best of it. So this is an option. I see either shooting the 2 and going to the head rail and just straight down. I don't know if you have the angle to draw the cue ball 2 rails out of the corner. But that's one option. So before you shoot it, you should always look at another option. So
Mhm.
you can make a decision and evaluate.
Yeah, I almost wish I can cut this 7, but the 5 ball blocks the
The five
7.
balls in the way. I see
Yeah.
two other options for you.
You see 2 other options.
I
Let's
see
see.
two other options. One you're not going to like, and I don't like it either. But you can carom the cue ball off the 7 into the 5,
Yes. The one that actually jumped out at me was to curve around the 13 to get to the 5.
or you could curve around. So those are
I'm
both. We're dealing with low percentage shots here,
right,
obviously.
for
Yeah,
sure.
but we're making an evaluation. So the other shot that you could do is shoot the 2 ball and just shoot it firm and let the cue ball go up table and back down and just try and bring it right into the 3 ball.
Okay.
So that's an option as well. It's kind of reckless, but I think it traps the cue ball so you can't scratch. But that depends on you hitting it well. You could
Ah,
also come back down table, hit the 11, and go straight in the drink. So it's a risky shot as well. So I only bring it up because you should take a moment to evaluate and make a decision on what you think is your highest percentage.
well, I actually think the 11-12 is the highest percentage. I think
Okay.
I can give me a shot to do that, but I'm having so much fun right now that I think even trying to shoot the 2 ball into the side and bring the cue ball back into the cluster sounds like a lot of fun too.
I my decision, I if it was me, I would play position on the combination.
All right,
And
so
the
that's what I'll
reason
try.
why is they're pretty close together and they're not lined up, but they're kind of sort of lined up to the pocket. So I think it's a pretty high percentage combination.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see
So
what I
from
can do.
that point, it's up to you. You can tell better than me which route to take your cue ball on.
We're gonna try to line up for the combination.
Okay.
Try being the key word. And okay, I totally lost my draw before I got there, but the
Little
combination
limit
is
on the
still there.
stroke.
It's just a lot harder,
Yeah.
uh, and I might as well
Now
go for it.
you have the right. So let's look at this for a second because you have the right angle to shoot this shot because the cue ball is just going to go into the 3.
Yep,
So I think this is just not a strong follow stroke, just a cue ball above center, but you don't want to hit it real soft. You want to get the cue ball to go into the 3 and kind of come loose. And we don't have an insurance ball. We're hoping for the best. But
correct. This is something that actually happened to me on my last live stream when I scored a 44. I was
oh
practically doing something very similar to this, except it wasn't a combo, but
yeah,
it was a shot that the cue ball immediately goes into the clutter, and I did exactly what you described, but the cue ball got stuck in the clutter.
yeah, you got to give it enough forward spin that it at least tries to come loose. Now
Right.
I'm gonna complicate your world.
Okay.
Look at the 5 ball.
I already looked at it. It's a thin cut. It's a thin cut that I'm comfortable with. I just don't know what's going to happen afterwards. So
You
in between the two shots, I would almost feel that the eleven
okay?
twelve, if successful, I still
Is
have a
better.
higher percent chance of having
Okay,
something versus
okay.
if I cut the 5 and then trying to create
It's
something.
it's a it's a it's a personal decision. Different players are going to shoot different shots. So just for completeness, I'll point this out because I do shoot this shot a lot. But if you haven't shot it, it's not the right choice. But if I were to shoot the 5,
Hmm.
I would put a good deal of right English on the cue ball
Well, let me tell you what. If I
because
was
I
right
want the cue
here,
ball to miss the
if my
8 and go into the 13.
yeah, if my cue ball was right here, all day
Yeah,
long. All day
all day
long,
long.
I would shoot that shot.
There you go.
Here, it's a little thinner than I would like,
Right.
and that's why I think that I don't think I can create something
And
by shooting that shot.
so I think what we've just done is excellent because we've evaluated the probabilities. That's what straight pool is all about, making good decisions. That's what you want to do is make good decisions. So I agree. This is the right shot.
All right, let's see here.
Sweet.
Give me a shot. That's what I'm always saying when I go into the clutter. Give me a shot.
Everybody says it. Ugh. Do you have you can't see the 15 enough to make the 13, huh?
Nope, the 7's in the
Nope.
way.
Okay.
And
So,
I don't think I could squeeze the 7 behind behind the 15 or the 13.
right. So, a little bit of advice here. You just dealt with two negative situations. You had a terrible break shot, you had a terrible angle on it, and you did the best you could. And then you had a very clustered rack, and you had a low percentage shot to continue, and you made that shot. So you turned two negatives into a positive. So it's important to think that way, because then you don't walk up to this shot thinking, oh, darn, another problem
Right.
to deal with.
No, for
You want to
sure, for sure.
you want to keep positive thoughts going through your mind. So you have an opportunity to keep going here. You got a shot on that 3 ball.
I do. The 3 in the side.
Now, I want you to consider for a moment the 3 in the corner.
I have.
Okay. And so this is a personal decision, whichever one you're most comfortable with. Whichever one you choose, I don't want you to slow roll it.
Really?
You want to hit it with a positive stroke. I'm not saying hammer it. I'm not saying shoot it
No,
hard.
yeah, for sure.
I'm saying softly, but not a slow roll.
But not a
You want to
slow
give
roll.
it a positive stroke.
All right.
Whichever
So
one you choose.
the slow roll stroke that I had in mind for the 3 in the side causes my cue ball to bump into the 4, and I'm immediately set up on this half of the table. If
I
I'm
like it.
going to go a little bit harder than that, then that would be the 3 in the corner. I would not shoot a little bit harder than that for the 3 in the side.
Okay.
Not being bridged this close to the rail.
So this to me is kind of a recovery shot. So I don't want to be super concerned about position. You're going to have a shot. We're not worried about that. So
Right.
whichever shot is closer to 100% for you is the one you should choose.
Then all right. Then we will go for the corner.
Get in there. Not the cue ball.
Not the cue ball. Okay, so
All right.
we're out of the problem.
Yes. So you started with a terrible break shot and a very clustered rack, and it took only 3 shots, and you now have an open rack, don't you?
Right. Exactly.
So now is the time where you pat yourself on the back, and then you go to your process. What's step 1?
Well, this is break ball.
Good.
I feel like I need to peck off a couple of balls before I even consider a key ball. Like I can make this a key ball by stunning over to it.
Yeah.
I can make the 15 or the 13 a key ball by going behind it. We've already talked about that route a couple of times.
Yep. I agree. If you had a ball above the 14 that goes in that side pocket or something
absolutely
up there,
like right here,
then you would choose that. But it's important to at least look and say, oh, I don't have that, so I will have to use one of the balls that you just mentioned.
Right.
And then what's your next step?
What's my next step?
Break ball, key ball.
Do I need to pick a K2 ball at this point?
No, because you don't have a key ball yet.
Right.
The next step is identify any balls that could be problem balls.
Well, we've got a down table ball that I can deal with right now, and then that's dealt with. But
right.
I would consider this area because this is a lot of tight movement.
It is. What I see is the 15 and the 7 could be a little bit tricky.
Right.
Right.
If I get the 13, if I get the 13 away, and then I can get the 15 to go here and the 7 to go here.
You just nailed it. Because the 5, the 8, and the 11 all go in the right corner pocket. Yep. And so if you shoot the 9 ball first, you've gotten rid of one problem ball. The next ball that causes you a little bit of trouble, it's not much, but it's there, is that 13. So if you can go 9, 10, 13, Once the 13's gone, you can play position on the 11 or the 8, and then you've got an easy shot on the 15 back the other way.
Right.
Right. So it's all about which ball leads to the which ball, which leads to the next ball. So I don't think there's a definitive pattern, but identifying that you got to get rid of that 13 was the important thing to see.
All right, so let's see if I can do this. 9, 10, 13. Oh, now the question becomes is do I want to draw into this window or do I want to draw into this window?
That's a bit, yeah, you have a bit of a window in either direction. And yeah, so you always have to ask yourself, if I go too short, what do I have? If I go too long, what do I have? So if you
So,
go too short, you'll have to shoot the 8-13 combination.
correct.
Not the end of the world because the 13 is pretty close to the pocket.
Right.
If you go too long, you might be shooting the 4-13, or you might be back cutting the 5. But it's important to make just notice that before you shoot. Nice. And now it wouldn't be the end of the world to just shoot the 13 and go to the 6.
That's actually what I was thinking
Yeah, I
because
like it.
I don't have the angle to come out for the 11. I have an angle to
Yeah,
come out for the 6.
yeah. Yep. So, and now, now that you've shot that 13, your brain needs to switch into end pattern mode because you
Okay.
identified 2 trouble balls and you got rid of both of them, and every ball's open. So now you're in the end pattern.
Okay. Man, I either shoot this with the bridge or I just shoot it left-handed because you've seen me do it plenty of times. If I shoot it left-handed, I'm following this. If I shoot with the bridge, I can probably try to draw back for the 11. Both ways, I'm getting position on the 11.
Okay.
One small issue is if I'm above the 11, my cue ball automatically runs into the 8. Not the end of the world because I will have the position on the 15 still. But I would like to be flat on the 11 so I can do stop for the 15 and then get rid of the 7 and then really determine a better pattern from like I'm not
Yeah.
thinking all the way to the 14. I'm thinking to that 7 really more than
Yeah.
anything.
It helps to go backwards again, but you've already identified the 15 is probably the best key ball. But the problem is we've got to use the 15 to get on the 7.
Right.
And so so now we've removed the 6, 15, and 7. So that means one of these other 4 is the key ball. It's not the
Right.
end of the world. It's workable. Of those 4 balls, which one's the best key ball? I
Between the
would say
4, 5, and the 4, 5, 8, and 7?
between the 4, 5, 8, and 11, or 4, 5, 8. Yeah, just 4, 5, 8.
Okay, because the 11 leads to the 15 leads to the 7. That only leaves me the 4, 5, and the 8.
You got it.
Um, if I sh- if my end pattern or if my pattern from the 11 to the 15 that leads me to the 7, that looks like I'm going to either get shape on the 5 or the 4.
Yeah, you're going to have to go from the 7 to one of those balls.
Because and I say the 5 and the 4 because I think trying to go depending upon obviously where the cue ball lands after I get on the 7. I don't know if holding for the 8 is going to be ideal. So that's kind of why
Yep.
I've zoned picked the 5 and the 4.
Yep. So
Um,
here's what I see, and
if I get the
I
if I get the 5, if I land on the 5, the 8 can go into this corner with the position that
yeah,
I can
yeah,
play, which allows me to play the 4 in that corner to hopefully stun over
to
to
get
get.
over
So
there.
I would almost think the 4 ball is my key ball.
Um, that is that is a good plan. I see another plan, and I'll tell you what. I just took a screenshot of this
Okay.
because I'm going to post this to Facebook. I bet the guys on there will come up with several different plans. It's a little bit. It's not difficult. It's very, very doable in different ways. And I'll tell you what. So you just came up with a good plan. I'll tell you what I see,
Okay.
because I've made this. I've failed doing this so many times. Is that I've decided the 4 is my key ball, and by the time I get around to the end, I end up with a terrible angle on the 4 ball, and I can't get on my break shot.
Right.
And and it's just from my past experience. I think other straight pool players might disagree with me. From my past experience, based on what we've talked about, I think the 8 ball's the best key ball. And you can give yourself a cut shot to go around the 14, or you can give yourself the other, just like the very last rack when we were looking at the 2 ball is the key ball.
Yes. Okay. I know what you're talking about.
Yep. So and so based on that, here's what I see. When you shoot the 6, you're playing shape on the 11, right?
Mm-hmm.
Play shape for the 4 ball in the side pocket also. Because if you end up getting good on the 4, you're going to be able to remove the 4 and get on the 11, and then when later on when you shoot the 7, you can just pop up table and the 4 ball's no longer in your way when you're playing position for the 5 and the 8.
That's fair. I see that.
So I don't think the plan you mentioned is any better or worse than the plan that I mentioned. They both require you to do some things correctly. So whatever you do, commit. You got to commit to your position and don't and give it your best effort to get there.
Well, that was my attempt. That was my left-handed attempt to get on the 4 and the 11. I have the 4.
So you got a little short. The good news is that you got plenty of balls to shoot after the 4 ball goes in. So here you just make sure that you don't miss.
Whoa.
Actually,
No,
you
no
need to phrase
pressure.
it. Yeah, and you need to phrase it the other way. Never tell yourself to not miss.
Right.
You always, when you're self-talk in your mind, you need to say, "Oh, this 4 ball on the side, I'm going to pocket this ball. I know this
Well,
shot."
so let me ask though, how bad of an idea is it to cut the 11? Because I mentioned this before. My cue ball bumps into the 8. I know we
Yeah,
talked about bumping balls is bad, but then
yeah.
I also would argue that it kind of helps me hold the cue ball.
It does help you hold the cue ball. You'll have a shot on the 5, the 4, or the 15 afterwards. I'm not. I don't mind it. I actually don't mind it because if you think that's a significantly higher percentage shot than the 4 on the side, then it's the
Mm-hmm.
right choice. And so
Because
if you choose,
my concern with shooting the 4 in the side, actually, maybe there isn't a concern. I forgot. I got plenty of balls to choose from.
you do have
I think the reason why I thought it was a concern is if I want to preserve the 8 ball, as you
oh, I
talked
see.
about.
It's not imperative. If you choose to shoot the 11, you have to make a plan where exactly you think that 8 ball is going to go.
Right.
You don't want to just leave it to chance. Yeah.
Right.
But that's my only caveat to that shot, but it's up to you. Piece of cake.
All right, so I'm not shooting the 11 because it's too much of a cut. I feel like I can stun draw off of the 8. That'll either plant me onto the 11 or plant me onto the 15.
Well, you should make a decision now. What's your key ball for the break shot?
At this rate, it's going to be the 5 ball.
It'll be the
If
5.
I'm automatically thinking about shooting the 8 right now.
Okay. I'm gonna present you with another idea, and I'm
Okay.
not saying it's the right shot, but I want you to start seeing these. You could cut the 11 right now and send the cue ball off the bottom rail straight into the 8. And the reason why I suggest that is it's it's pretty close, so it's a high percentage route. Even though you're bumping a ball, you most likely will have a shot on the 15. But the advantage is you're creating a second break shot to choose from.
True. I will not argue that. My only concern is that the cut angle that I'm going to have on the 15 will not allow me to maintain for the 7.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't saying that it was the right shot. I wanted to just make you aware of it.
Okay.
So, yep. Um, yeah, I think I think it's important to get flat on that 15 so the 7 is no trouble. So that's the priority.
So I think I can. I don't mind bridging over the 11. So I think I'm just going to soft roll this.
Ooh, okay.
I might even tap the 11. I don't think the 11 will get in the way of the 7 though.
What happened?
Am I blocked?
Are you blocked?
Yep, I'm blocked. Ah,
So that was the wrong shot.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was the right shot, but you should have shot it. You could you have cheated the pocket and stunned the cue ball down past
Well, my
the
original
11?
plan was to stun draw it, and then I changed my mind and just soft
Yeah.
rolled it.
And then the other option would be to slow roll the 11 to get straight in on the 15. And this is an example of what I talk about. We don't want 95% successful routes. We want 99.5% successful. And that's the
Right.
reason why I wouldn't shoot it that way.
Fair. Fair. All right. So
So,
now I'm in complete
darn it.
recovery mode. Let's see here. I've
Now
got a
you're in
bank.
recovery mode. Yep.
I got a bank shot on the 5, and that's really it. I'm
You,
not kicking the 7 in because the 15. If the 15 was not there, I would almost opt to kick the 7 in. I'm a fairly good
you,
kicker, especially when the object
oh,
ball's
okay.
near a rail.
You also have a masse
Um,
shot on the 15.
yeah, sure.
Well, you do. You also have a bank. You have a bank shot on the 4, on the 14 rather. 14.
Correct, but that's my break ball. Unless I'm going to now use a ball that's in the back of the rack to become a break ball, which is
I'll
certainly
tell
an
you what.
option.
It is an option, and I'll tell you what. We talked about this earlier. When it comes down to it, the run could be over.
Correct.
What's better? What's a higher priority? Preserving the 14 or keeping the run going?
Keeping the run going.
Yep. So it's a decision for you because I don't know if the 5 ball is an easier bank shot for you or if the 14 is easier. That's up to you.
The 14 is more than likely going to be the easier bank shot.
Okay. And it looks like you have easy position, so you don't have to worry about position. Nice. Now pick a new break
And
ball
it's on a live
and a new
stream.
end
Sorry.
pattern. The run is alive, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Crap. End pattern. What ball do I want to be the break ball? Well, I'm gonna cheat.
Yeah, put the rack up there. Yeah. So your two best balls are the 7 or the 11, I think.
That's kind of what I was thinking of. I kind of don't like the 7 because I've just got a pretty good track record of not going into the corner of the rack. I know I'm supposed to go into the corner of the rack so that way I don't stick to the rack, but I have a pretty good track record of sticking to the rack when I do this kind of a shot.
So if it's possible to go 5, 15, 7, then the cue ball will be on the left side and you'll be able to shoot the 11 and hit the corner of the rack.
You're talking about having my cue ball on this side.
Right. Correct.
Okay.
Yes. The hard part or the critical part is that you get as flat as you can on that 15 from the 5.
Right.
You don't want a big angle on that 7.
Yeah, because the 7 does not pass
right.
the 15.
Right.
And this window is pretty small.
It's real small. I don't know if you can
This window here is really small.
Stun it over or do something else. I don't know.
I almost want to draw over to the 11, but then that makes the 7 the break ball.
The break shot. Correct. Do you have the ability to cheat the pocket and follow forward to the side rail, bottom rail, and off?
Side rail, bottom rail? No. I'm automatically going to the bottom rail.
Okay, gotcha. All right. In that case, if I'm going to shoot the 5 ball, I do not want to slow roll it. I want to stroke it so the cue ball hits the bottom rail and bounces off the bottom rail. I think that's your best way to make sure you hit that window.
All right.
See, this game's easy.
Sure. Yeah, this game is real easy when I'm on my first attempt and 161 people are watching. This game is real easy.
Hey, Chris,
Yeah.
you're doing well.
Thank you.
Now I
All
saw
right.
you go look at your angle, didn't you, to make sure you get the right angle on that 7.
Right, because
Okay.
I don't want to get. I obviously don't want to get flat. Now, for this shot? Do I want to be like this, or would I want to be like this?
Well, it's up to you. You want to be able to bounce off the rails so that you don't want to be parallel to the 11. You want to be just slightly below it. A,
Just
a
slightly
nice
below it.
a nice cut shot on that 11 is going to help you to open that rack.
All right, then I'm just gonna slow roll this.
What I
All right,
love doing,
so I
yeah,
don't. You said I don't want to be here. I want to. I want to be almost basically where the cue ball is now.
yeah, where you are now is fine. Just up a little higher is fine. You want a slight back cut on that 11.
All right.
42.
Whew. Goodness gracious. This is ridiculous.
It's taking forever. Jason Shaw ran 714 balls. I think it was 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Something like that. Yeah,
Can you
something
believe
like
that?
that.
It is incredible. He was like a
It was
pinball machine.
it was ridiculous how fast he was getting through the racks.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. I want to make a point. This is a good break shot for me to make a point,
Okay.
and that is this. Beginners to straight pool will often misinterpret this shot because they'll say to myself, "Oh, gee, I better put some draw on this shot, or I might miss the rack."
Mm-hmm.
And because they're used to that when they're playing 8 ball and 9 ball. But at the speed that you're going to hit this shot, the cue ball will not have time for any draw or follow to take before it hits the rack.
Okay.
What that means is the cue ball will follow the tangent line to the rack, no matter what English you put on that cue ball.
I mean, like if I had to guess, like
Yeah, figure out where your 90-degree tangent line is.
it's a really close call on whether or not if I'm going to hit that 9.
I want you to trust me and
I
and
trust you.
hit the and shoot it with follow on the cue ball.
Shoot it
Not
with follow on
not
the
at
cue
the
ball.
very top, but 1.5 to 2 tips of follow.
Okay.
And on this shot, you're going to hit it medium hard, 7.5 out of 10.
7.5 out of 10. All right.
No left or right, just a center ball. Once you've placed your Q-tip, all your focus just goes into making that ball. That's all you focus on. What happened? You open the rack.
I'm all the way down here.
Yeah, the cue ball didn't end up in a good spot. That sucks. I didn't expect the cue ball to go that high up. Usually it stays down table.
So
But you did
did I hit it too hard? Like was I
no.
more around the 8?
I think some people might disagree with me. They might say that a softer hit would be better.
Okay.
But I think you're just unlucky that the cue ball went there.
Okay.
I think that was a good speed. Now later on when the camera's off, set it up again and try it a few times and see what you think.
Sure. No, for
Yeah,
sure, for sure.
yeah,
Now, this sucks because I don't want to slow roll the 9 ball. I mean, I do want to slow roll the 9 ball because it's still my higher percent shot and it automatically leads me to the 12. And then maybe I can keep the rack alive after that.
yeah.
Otherwise, I can try to shoot with some confidence and cut that 13. And that might help me keep the rack alive as well. Like those are the two options that I see right now as far as
You
to get into the middle of the rack.
can you
I'm
see
not
the
even I'm
one?
not even thinking about this right now. I'm actually
No, no.
this is what I was talking about. You know, we're on what ball are we on? What ball are we
You're on
on?
a run of 43 right now.
43. Four more balls, right?
Uh,
This is where I jinx
don't
myself because
don't think
now I'm
about that.
counting balls, and everybody says,
Yeah,
"Don't count the balls."
don't count the balls. So at this point, this is a recovery shot. Your only thought is to make the ball. You're not trying to play position or open another ball. You're obviously going to
Right.
shoot a shot where you hope to have another shot.
Right.
Can you see the one?
Nope.
No.
14
Okay.
blocks it.
All right. Okay. In that case, it's personal preference. Which shot do you think is a higher percentage for you?
Neither.
Because the 13 ball, after you shoot the 13, you will have a shot on the 7 and the side, I
Right.
think.
No,
If you shoot the,
I would agree. But now I'm
yeah,
starting to contemplate a little bit of a punch stop shot on the 9 ball
yeah.
instead of slow rolling it, because that way if I kind of punch it, then as long as my aim is true, I don't have to worry about any slight off rolls or anything like that.
Hey, I'm going to point out the other option just for completeness.
Sure.
And that's cut the 4 ball.
Oh, geez. I mean, I can certainly do that, but it's certainly darn thin.
Just for completeness. So that's the only
Right.
reason I'm mentioning it. Now, I know some good players and pros who actually would prefer the 4 ball to the 13 or the 9. Um, they play a lot of one pocket and they're just comfortable with cutting balls like that. And it's a higher
Oh, for
percentage shot
sure.
for them. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But but that's the decision, whatever's highest percentage for you.
No pressure, right?
And at this when you're faced with a shot like this, you've seen pros do this on TV all the time. Go over to the table on the side, take a sip of water,
Oh, yeah.
take a couple of deep breaths, and then when you come back to the table, stand behind the object ball and just get a real good look at the object ball, the shot line to the pocket for the object ball, whichever one you choose. There you go. Give it your best effort.
I read some comments. They're like, slow roll the 13. I'm pretty close to the rail. That's why I don't want to slow roll the third. If I was here, or if I was like maybe another couple inches off, I
Yeah.
mean, actually, it doesn't matter. If I'm further away from the rail, the 9 ball gets so much easier, and I'm shooting the 9 ball all day long. The
Right.
13 ball
Right.
is just a secondary option.
Correct.
Okay,
Nice. Good job.
thank you.
So now you've made your recovery shot. So now you go back into your regular mode. This is the first shot of the next rack. So you
Yep.
got to go through your process, your rack
Right.
analysis process.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, there's no better ball than the 4 ball to try to open up that 5 ball clutter.
Well, the
Um,
first step is identify a break shot.
right. That would probably be. This is a difficult one. The 5 ball.
Yeah.
It's difficult because of the 1 and the 14.
Right.
Obviously, any one of these 5 could become one the moment I break them apart.
That's the
Um,
correct answer.
and if I am gonna make it be the 5, then I would want to probably most likely use the 7 as the
Yeah.
key ball to the 5.
Real good. So that's all correct. And a lot of the time when you ask yourself what's the potential break ball, the answer comes back, I don't know.
Right.
And that's fine. That's a correct answer, but you have to ask the question.
Right.
And this is the case where you probably don't know. You probably don't know. And so that's fine. That's fine. At least you know that. And then that question is resolved and it's gone from your brain and then you're free to focus on what's important.
Oh, I feel so dead set on shooting this 10 ball right now.
Well, that doesn't have to be. That could be the right shot. It just depends. What is so you're doing your rack analysis. Break ball and key ball are out of the question. Trouble ball, clusters and trouble balls are next. What do we see?
So if I wanted to deal with the cluster, I'm thinking 10, 13, 7, so that way I can get on the 4 to break out the cluster. And because I'm going to be hitting this part, or you probably can't see, because I'm going to be hitting this
Okay.
part of the 6 at almost whatever angle I get, I would hope the 12 ball is actually a pretty good insurance ball.
Okay, that's a plan, and that uses a lot of soldiers. Now it can work, but it relies on you getting right on that 4 ball, and you've
That is
shot a lot of your
correct.
soldiers off.
That is correct.
If I was shooting this rack, I'm a lot of times I'm a fairly aggressive player. If I was shooting this rack, I'm going to shoot the 12 and draw the cue ball into the 2-6.
Ooh. Okay.
That's a very aggressive shot. And some people would totally disagree with that, and I would not argue with them. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm just presenting it as an option. When the cue ball hits that, you're going to hit it medium firm. You're likely going to have a shot on the 7 or the 4. The cue ball is going to keep going, and that cluster is going to be open. You could get a shot on one of those balls. You're also giving yourself a chance to manufacture a break ball.
Right.
So I'm not saying it's the right shot. I'm not saying you should shoot it. I'm saying it's an option.
Doesn't this draw is not going to do it though, right? I have to use draw left, right? Because draw, I think, goes right into the
Yes,
4. Draw.
I would agree. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It is an aggressive shot, but I'll tell you what. When we look at the types of tables that you face, you're facing a clustered table. Not only is that a problem, the 1, 5, 14 are kind of clustered up, and you've already identified the 10, 13. The 13 is a blocker for the 10. So you got lots of trouble here.
Yeah.
In one shot, you might fix everything,
Right.
or you could make it worse. But I think, but I would, if it was me shooting, I would absolutely shoot the 12 and go into those balls.
All right.
It may seem reckless. You don't want to blast away at it. This is just a 6, 6.5 in your power scale. You just want to hit those balls and get the cue ball to come loose from that cluster, and you're very likely to have a much better table after that. And the advantage is you're using one soldier to fix a problem, not 3 or 4.
So let me ask you this then, because we both agree this is a problem here.
Yes.
The 13 and the 10. I have a shot at the 10, which leads me to the 13, which can lead me to your shot.
Okay. Yes.
Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility. You have to be almost 100% that you're going to get the cue ball there, because if you end up straight in and you can't get the cue ball off the rail from the 13,
Then I lose the
then it
shot.
doesn't work.
Correct.
Then
No,
it doesn't work.
I agree with that. Let me
So
see how this.
yes,
Let me
yes,
see.
that's okay, and it's a good point too, because if you shoot the 12 now, you could be knocking balls over and tying up the 10, 13 even worse.
Right.
So
That's usually one of my thought processes when I think
yep.
about going into a cluster too soon. I have balls that are makeable, and if I open up a cluster too soon, then those balls could become unmakeable.
I think that's a good plan. As long as you can get the cue ball off the rail from the 13, that's a good plan.
Okay. Because
As I look at it, I would shoot the 10 and I would try to freeze the cue ball to the rail, because then I've
for
got
sure.
plenty
Because
of
then I
room.
automatically get the cue ball off the rail after I shoot the 13.
You got it. Nice. Now, before you shoot the 13, stand behind where you want to get, and kind of put your Q-tip on the table. Where do you want that cue ball? Make sure you get a real good bridge on that cue ball to shoot the 12.
I think basically anything like this still
Yep.
gives me your shot. And the
Yep.
flatter I get, the shot is still there. I just have to hit harder.
Right. So
to
more
still make
angles
it
better
alive.
than less.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
All right. Moment of truth. A little bit of bottom left.
Well,
Am I
got a
stuck?
bonus ball. So the cue ball hit the 4. So that's why it didn't work out the way that you had hoped.
It doesn't matter. New record.
New record?
New record on the first try.
All right. So darn it, we're in recovery shot mode again. But
Yes, recovery
that's what we
shot mode.
got.
Folks, like I said, if you have not discovered Shortstop on Pool YouTube channel, be sure to go over there and check it out either right now or after this stream is over.
I appreciate that.
Ah,
And
let's see
I've got a
here.
book over 200 pages that explains all this, and it comes with videos that demonstrate all the shots too.
All right, so like I have
What do you
two
got?
recovery shots that I'm comfortable with. I can back cut the 6, but I lose my cue ball. I can try to control the cue ball, and I kind of see a bank shot on the 5.
Okay. I
Oh,
prefer in this instance the 6, and the reason why is I think the 5, 14, 1 are going to stop your cue ball from flying away.
I do agree with that. I do agree with that.
And so you're likely to have a shot on the 2 or the 1 or the 4 or something afterwards. It's a tricky shot because you're so close to the 6.
Yep.
But it's what you got. I prefer that to the
Like
bank.
the stream. This is my first attempt, and I've got a coach in my ear. Like the freaking stream.
Absolutely.
All right.
But
So
it's again, it's a personal decision. Are you more comfortable with the bank shot? That's up to you. Because the bank
well,
shot, you're going to have a shot as well.
yeah. I have to hit this with topspin, so the cue ball's moving no matter what. Um, so I think the 6 ball is the right shot. Either one of these. This is that moment where like the run could potentially end.
Yeah, don't think about that. It doesn't matter. It's just about the process. It's just about the
Yep.
shot.
No,
Um,
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
I would choose the 6. Take real careful aim, and I'm not blasting the shot. You want to hit it somewhat soft so that it has a chance to dribble in if you don't quite hit the center of the pocket.
Oh God, it strains my eyes when the balls are so close to make sure that I hit the right spot. Plus, I think this is referred to as a blind pocket shot because
Yeah.
I can't even see the corner pocket that I'm shooting this in.
Okay. So do this. You know the ghost ball, of course. So
That every time you see me walk over here and walk back, that's what I'm trying to do.
yeah. So when you see the ghost ball, come back behind the cue ball and get the cue ball lined up with the ghost ball, and then really try and see where is your shaft pointed in relation to the edge of the 6 ball.
Oh, you want me to use the edge of the ferrule system, huh?
Well, it helps on these types of shots. It helps to at least it helps you to confirm that you're close to the right spot.
Okay. All right. All right. I think we're golden. Actually I don't know. I think I overcut it.
Well, little overcut, yeah. That happens a lot.
All right, ladies and
All right.
gentlemen,
Good job, though.
42
Good job. What did you run?
plus 6,
48.
48 on the first
Ah,
attempt.
you didn't break 50. That was terrible.
I know, right? I have to take a break after all of that. I have to take a break after all of that.
Oh, okay. I'll take a break too, but I'll stick with you. Congratulations. That was
Holy
good.
cow.
So a little
Ugh.
bit more left English on that 12 ball, and that cluster would have opened, and you would have had easy shots, and
I was actually
you could have gotten 60 or 70.
no. I'm obviously not going to disagree with that, but I actually was a little timid to put more spin than I did
Oh,
because of that shot being so important, not only to break my record and everything else, that I would just lose the shot
oh,
if I attempted to put more spin, because you saw I'm a
yeah,
little elevated, more English, which means I'm massing the ball into that ball, and and you've seen where I've already accidentally overdrawn balls because of
yeah,
how smooth my stroke is, and that was the only
yeah,
reason why I opted for just a pinch,
yeah.
just a small
And
pinch
and that's why it
of
was
spin.
important to try and get the cue ball even farther off the rail when you shoot that 13.
Right.
Yeah,
No, for
yeah,
sure, for sure.
yeah.
Ah,
It's the
holy
little
crap.
things.
Uh, man, this we've been live for almost 3 hours now, and that's usually
Wait a
how
minute.
long.
What?
Yeah, we've been live for 2 hours and 44 minutes to go through that first attempt.
Why do you shoot so slow? Maybe because we have a dissertation on every single shot.
Oh my goodness, that's too good. That's too
It's going to
good.
take you a day and a half to run 714.
No, definitely. Yves de Montgaliard. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I obviously know this is Yves, but he just gave me a $4.80 super chat because I ran 48 balls, 10 cent per ball. Thank you so much for the $4.80 super chat. I really do appreciate it. Everybody's saying congratulations. Let's see. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Yeah, everybody's just loving it right now.
Good, good.
I
Yeah, you
got
did a great job.
A Funk is saying that this is my best straight pool live video so far.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Nice. We got to, when you come back, we got to set up that one key ball shot. I'm not going to let it go.
Are you talking about the
The
break ball
two ball.
shot or
The two ball.
the two ball?
I'll remind you. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Okay. Um so
And
actually
then,
I'm going to go take a quick break. So I'm
yeah.
actually going to leave the floor for you. Feel free to plug whatever you want until
Oh,
I get back.
okay. I'm going to take a break as well. I'll do it when you come back then.
All right.
Okay. Uh, thank you. Says Shortstop's a great coach. Thanks. I appreciate that. And I imagine there's some people in the chat who have seen my channel. I do a rack of the week video. So every week I publish one video on Sunday night, and I just shoot a single rack of straight pool. I go from the opening break shot to the break shot into the next rack. And I talk about basically everything that we just talked about just now with Chris. So every rack is different. There's never there's very rarely a time when you can look at and say you must shoot this shot. There's always options, and different people see things differently. The name of my channel is Shortstop on Pool, and I believe, yeah, if you look in the description, Chris has a link to it, so you can click on that. It's one of the reasons I love straight pool is, when you play 9-ball, you have to play position from the 3 to the 4, and that's it. There's no other choice, unless if you play safe, of course. But in straight pool, it's such a creative game. There's so many options and choices. In that last rack, I talked Chris into shooting that 12 ball to open that cluster, and that kind of led to the end of the run. Maybe he could have shot a different shot and had better success. We don't know, but that's the beauty of straight pool. Sometimes you're faced with difficult choices, and you have to make your best effort and see what happens. And that's what Chris did. I'd like to point out something. Chris did not miss a single shot. I talked about the 4 principles for running a rack: the break shot, rack analysis, the end pattern. The second step is don't miss. Chris has got that down. He's got real good fundamentals, and he's a very good player, and I only see him getting better. So he didn't miss. That's one of the keys. He didn't miss a break shot, and he didn't miss any of the shots that he attempted. Well, until the very last shot, but that was my fault because I talked him into that break shot.
So I don't when I went away, these earbuds are Bluetooth. So
Yeah.
I think I fell out of range because
Oh,
I
okay.
could no longer hear you.
Yeah.
And the problem is if I couldn't hear you, they probably couldn't hear you because this is the audio feed that they're picking up from you.
Oh.
The
Oh well.
the viewers are going to have to verify. Were you able to hear everything that Bob was saying while I was taking a break? Because if not, then kindly repeat everything so that way they can hear you.
I'm
I
not
got
sure if I
Seth White
remember everything. Oh,
overtake.
they said
They
they could
said nope.
hear.
They all said they could hear you. So cool.
Okay.
We're golden. We're golden.
Okay. I'm going to take a quick break and come back, and then I guess what we're going to, you're still feeling good, Chris? You're going to keep shooting?
Yeah, we can do one more attempt. Because like
Okay.
my streams normally last anywhere from 4 to 4.5 hours. Because this microphone only has about like a 4.5 hour battery
Okay.
lifespan before it dies.
What we'll do is I'm not going to talk nearly as much. In fact, what we should do is just let you shoot, but you talk the way you normally do about your decisions. And if I see something better, I'll just point it out. But we won't have long discussions about everything.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll,
Then
I'll be back in a minute.
we'll wait for you to come back, and then we'll continue on. Oh, oh my goodness, folks. Now, can you imagine like just going through that process? Like, I mean, literally, put yourself in my shoes here as to regards to the pressure, um, you know, doing everything because it's a matter of like when you think about us as content creators, right? Every one of my YouTube videos, I have to be able to represent what I'm doing by doing it well. And of course, everybody's going to wonder, well, how many attempts did it take you to do that in order to be able to pull off whatever it is that you pulled off? And I admit, sometimes I do it on the first attempt, and sometimes it takes me multiple attempts. I have full transparency of doing that. But then when it comes to me doing live streams, you get to see me live attempt to implement everything that I ever preach about, and you get to see me mess up. You get to see me not mess up. You get to see me string runs together. You see me get to break and run racks. And prior to doing this live stream here with Bob, you saw how I've progressively already gotten better, figuring out things that I figured out and stuff. And then now, even when I had Demetrius and Josh, when they were doing the same thing, when Demetrius and Josh were in my ear, I managed to do a 29. And that's when I was completely struggling on being able to just like run racks all together. So in my shoes, I've got so much pressure here to not only perform well just for the sake of performing well on a live stream, but to perform well for Bob as well, because it's going to be, well, if I don't do what Bob does, well, whose fault is it? Is this is like the APA timeout session, right? When the
Yeah.
coach tells the player what to do and the player messes up, whose fault is it? It's the coach's fault. It's never the player's fault. So and I say that facetiously, but the pressure of me wanting to for me to be able to perform adequately to best represent what Bob is showing. And so I can only hope that I've done it well enough to show that I've broken my record on the first attempt. Over 100 people were watching it. I've got Bob in my ear and everything else, and there it is. So if you, I don't know what more proof you need to listen to. How do I do this? There we go. To
Over
listen
here.
to this guy.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I'll point something out that's interesting, and I've used this to learn some stuff. Obviously, Chris just ran 3.5 racks, and it took a long time because we were yakking about every single shot. But everything that we talked about, when you're playing straight pool by yourself, that's going to go on in your head, but it goes on at like light speed compared to having to, uh, you know, put it into words. It happens very quickly. So if you're really interested about learning straight pool, one of my favorite players, I think he's the best straight pool player in the world right now, and that's Thorsten Homan. And I
Mm-hmm.
say that with all respect to John Schmidt, because I think John Schmidt is a half a millimeter behind Thorsten Homan, or a half a millimeter ahead of him, depending on the day of the week. But the reason why I bring up Thorsten Homan, the next time you watch him play straight pool, don't watch the shots that he shoots. Watch his eyes. Because when he's playing, his eyes are constant between shots. His eyes are constantly darting around the table and looking at balls. And what he's doing is, it might be happening mostly subconsciously. He's running through everything that Chris and I just did. All that thought process happens in a few split seconds in your brain once you've shot, a few hundred or a few thousand racks. It becomes second nature. And so you watch his eyes, and you can see his eyes zooming around the table, and he's subconsciously making all these decisions really quickly. And I just think it's a beautiful thing to see.
No,
And
for sure.
with practice, it'll come to everyone.
Okay. Interestingly enough, the whole time I'm sitting here typing,
Uh huh.
um, and because I'm about to pin a message for people, I'm watching your camera go
Oh,
on and off. It
oh, is
looks
it?
like.
Why is it doing that?
Yeah, and other people are noticing it too.
It's
So
off
like
right now.
right now I can't see you. Now I can.
Okay, I just moved it. I don't know if that jiggled the wire. Let me turn the light on. Oh, now it went off again.
Yeah.
Well, I got to confess, I just bought this webcam today.
Oh.
So
Okay.
maybe I'll be returning it. Gosh, it has a ring light and the light is on, so it has power.
They said they can still hear you.
Yeah, I've got a
This
microphone separate from the webcam.
okay.
All right.
But
I
right
wonder.
now we can't see you.
Okay, hold on a second. I do have a second webcam. If I plug in the other one, are you going to be able to hook up to it?
I don't think it's gonna matter since we're on a FaceTime call. You just
Oh,
need
okay.
to change your FaceTime call settings to use that other camera. But what I would probably suggest is just on your on the FaceTime call, just stop
Yeah.
your video feed and then restart it, and
Restart it.
like we did before.
All right.
And let's see if that kickstarts it.
Okay, I hit the turn off, and now I'm going to turn it back on. Oh, there it is.
There he
Okay.
is.
Let's see if it keeps going.
Yeah. Oh nope, it
Okay.
just went out.
And now it's
Why
back
is it?
on.
Now it's back on.
What in the world?
All right. I'm ooh, I hope that's not because of my setup. I'm gonna test something.
Okay. Yeah, you're the tech guy. I don't know.
It's oh really? It's my end.
Is
Oh,
it?
that's ridiculous. So I'm working with a one monitor setup because this is a laptop, and so basically the window that our FaceTime call is has to sit above the my Google Chrome that where I actually have the live stream broadcasting on. So
Okay.
if I actually put you behind it, then
Did it flicker?
that's what causes you to disappear. So duly noted.
Okay.
Because what I ended up doing was I went to my channel so I can pull a link um, for my giveaway that I'm doing with a Predator BK Rush jump break cue, and I forgot to pin it, but
Okay.
at the very beginning of this stream, so people can have the opportunity to possibly win a free cue.
That's sweet. That's a sweet cue.
All right,
Okay.
so hopefully hopefully that should keep everything well. I eventually am going to put another monitor in here and hook it up to my laptop so that way I can have stuff nicely organized. Okay. So they said that they heard you just fine. So we can switch
Okay.
back to this
Okay.
and let's figure out what we were talking about with the other break ball.
Oh, you want to? Let's do that.
Yeah. So
So,
what was the setup?
so there was a break ball, side of rack break ball on the left side of the table. Hi, kitty cat.
Yeah, that's Zelda.
So pick a ball for a break ball.
Okay, I'll just pick the 6 ball.
Sure. So we just need two balls on the table.
Just 2 balls on the table?
Yeah, we only need two balls on the table. This is a key ball shot.
2 balls plus the cue ball, or 2 balls including the cue ball?
The cue ball and two more balls.
And 2 more. Okay, so I'm just gonna get rid of these then.
And we'll try that break shot as well. But we'll do that after.
Okay.
So put one of those as a break shot on the side of the rack. And then your key ball was one on the other side of the table. It was one diamond up and one diamond over from the corner pocket.
On the other side of the table.
So no, kind of right, go back where you were.
Okay.
Yeah. So from the right corner pocket, yeah, right there. Now go up one diamond. Right there.
Okay. No. I remember this shot now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's what I told you to do was to pick a point on the second rail.
Yes.
Now I'm gonna revise that because there's another thing that might help. If you imagine the line that the path that the cue ball is going to take from the bottom rail to the side rail,
Mm-hmm.
you want that line to be close to the break ball. You don't want to hit your break ball, obviously. But
Right.
if you think about that line being close to the break ball, then you're much more likely to not overshoot your destination and get the right angle when you come off the second rail.
Right. Because I got flat on this, and I had
Yeah, you ended up
and I had
way
to punch it.
right. So think about that. Think about your cue ball passing a ball's width or one or two balls width away from the six as it heads towards the second rail.
Okay, so originally though, you were saying you wanted the ball to be right around here, but I was about right here, to where
Yeah, correct.
I almost
Yeah,
had a half ball hit,
yeah. So
and the
it was harder to
destination was,
control.
yeah, the destination was here, but then
Right,
I hit it too hard and got flat. And so
right.
what you're saying though means that I'm actually going to be coming somewhere right around here as I get
Yeah,
closer to
correct,
the six
correct.
ball.
Yeah. Let's see
So
what happens.
in order to do that, I think that requires this kind of a hit.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
that was more like a center right.
gotcha.
Whereas before when I shot the shot to make sure that I hit here to get here, it was more of a draw right.
Right.
So I knew that I
And
wanted to hit the rail sooner, so I let it hit it
right.
sooner and tried to make the spin do all the work for me.
That's how you get on that break ball. So your cue ball went pretty close to the six.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have a very good break shot where you're at. Imagine if the cue ball traveled half as far off from the second rail, you still have a good break shot.
Right, anywhere like from here to here.
Yep. Yep. So that's the right way to go. Now, real quick, set it back, set up that stripe again,
Okay.
and put the
Uh,
cue ball farther towards the right, where you were trying to get the cue ball.
which would probably be somewhere around here, I think is what
More
you
over
were
there,
wanting.
even farther, even a little bit
Even
farther.
even a little bit farther. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, once
So
I get here, now I am thinking about drawing it, but actually, no, it looks like it naturally flows where I want to do almost the same exact thing.
that was my point. This is a much more controllable key ball shot than the one you just made because you don't have to stun or draw the cue ball. You can let the cue ball roll and you're just controlling that angle. So the same thing, just but it's a much easier. You can hit it softer too. See, so you could
Yeah.
hit that shot a lot softer than you hit it, and you're still going to get that optimal angle that you want for the break
Yep.
ball.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do that other one real quick because I'm curious. Rack up a rack of 14 balls,
Are you
and
talking
then you
about
had
the last break shot that I had?
yeah below the rack when it was below the rack. See if you can remember the positions of those balls.
Let's see if I can recreate what we had, because it
Yeah,
was basically something to where I wasn't sure if I was going to nick the corner ball or not.
exactly, exactly.
Because I had a back cut angle.
Yeah,
So I don't think it was that far out, was it?
right. Yeah, it might have been a little closer to the rack. It's very
Yeah.
close.
Okay,
Now,
we're obviously not going to get this precisely the way it
no,
was, but hopefully
but
pretty darn close.
well, here's the deal. I told you to use a very high cue ball and to hit it really hard.
Right.
Let's try something else.
Okay.
Just a half a Q-tip above center, and you don't want to hit it as hard. What you want to hit it hard enough so that the cue ball hits the side of the four ball, goes to the side rail, and then comes out to center table. So this time you're not trying to smash the whole rack open. You're probably only going to get 4 or 5 balls loose, and that's all you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see if the result is better or worse or if we like it.
All right. So I think we're set up as good as it can be.
I think so.
All right. So you said half a tip up. but a more smoother hit.
Smoother hit, and you want to hit that 4 ball on the edge. So you cue ball goes to the side rail. Okay.
I'm gonna
So
have to use spin to keep it from
to
going
keep the
up
cue ball
table.
from going up table, you're either going to have to use right English to keep it
Yep.
down table, or let that sucker go and let it go up table and all the way back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
So that's it.
because for
That
funsies,
that anytime that you have a break shot where you're hitting a bottom corner ball,
hmm
it's a weak break shot. They're low percentage break shots. They're difficult.
right.
So yeah. All right, man.
Well, this is for funsies here. Let's see. Watch the 14 as I try to barrel my way through all of that, and I at least have a shot.
You got several shots. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So if you wanted
Okay.
to, just go ahead and shoot.
So yeah, actually, yeah, because
Why not?
that would be where we're at. So we have a clustered rack. I've got this giant mess here.
Yeah.
I've got a shot on the 11. I have a shot on the 3 ball. Except now the 3 ball looks like a nice break ball, and the
Yeah.
10 ball becomes a nice key ball for that,
Possibly. Yep.
possibly for it. And then almost any one of these 4, um, just to be able to do something like this. I doubt I'll be able to maintain this to create a route that allows me to do this to get on the 3 ball. So
Yeah.
that's where my I don't know answer might come into play.
Okay.
But shooting the 11 means I'm going to run into the 8. I might get a shot on the 9 if I make sure the 8 gets out of the way. But that
That would
also
be
means I'm creating a clutter because the 8's going to go into the 7 and the 13.
well. If you can hit the 8 ball full so that the cue ball stops, you can go ahead and hit it pretty hard, and then the 8 ball might open things up, and then you'll have a shot on the 9.
That's fair.
It's possible. I think you're giving yourself a good chance that way.
So this is a draw shot then in order to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Draw a shot with the bridge. Whoops.
Oh, look at that. So put on your face so that you're acting like that's exactly what you wanted.
Well, they can't see my face.
And I'll just let you shoot.
All right, let's see here. So the 4 at least goes here, so I don't have to worry about the 15. I think I want to take the 10 because the 10 just gives me multiple opportunities
Yep.
at stuff as I attempt to preserve the 3 ball right now. Still don't even know what the key ball is going to be for it, but this is more than likely what I would end up doing. And my attention is drawn here. Like I'm trying to figure out how to deal with this, which I think I can get to the 4 right now if I don't miss this 10.
Okay.
Ah.
That's all right. You're alive. You kept the cue ball alive. That's good. The one thing I would point out is keep in mind that 12 ball that's hanging in the corner pocket,
Yeah.
that's an insurance ball for when you run into these other balls. Think of it that
Yep.
way. Okay.
Because I can take the 4 out. My cue ball will roll forward into the 7. I think that's going to cause the 13 and the 9 to clutter up.
You could always shoot the 8 and come back to center table and try the 4 ball again from there. Up to you.
Yeah, I'm still sold on this because I'm here. Like I don't think I'm going to get better position than here. That's the only reason why I'm committing to this.
I like it.
So that worked out.
Yep.
All right, so combo, whatever. I mean, the 12 ball's just sitting there.
Yeah. Here, decide when you want to get the 8. That's the key.
Yeah. More than likely after the combo, as long as I can get the 9 ball to replace the 12.
Okay.
All right. So I think here's when I want to start doing end pattern stuff.
Yeah, I would have. No, yeah, you probably want to shoot that 9 ball now. I would
Yeah,
have
you
wanted the
mean?
cue ball up higher so you could leave the 9 ball hanging there. But you're all right. Make it work.
Well, I'm going to shoot the 9 now to get to the 8. So I was thinking
Oh,
like after
that's
the 8,
perfect.
what's the rest of my pattern?
You got it. That's
Especially
perfect.
because
Yep, that's what I would do. Um, I think my decision would be driven by the fact that the 5 blocks the pocket for the fifth 3. It's kind of in the way. So if you can
yeah.
go from the 8 to the 5, that might be good. You don't have to. That's just an idea.
Oh crap. That's how that's how easy it is to screw things up.
Is that 760 Simonis?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I'd have to. I want to say it's 860
Okay.
because I bought this table 3 years ago from a company in Dallas, Texas. It was actually the only one that they had left.
Oh
But I
wow.
do know that the cloth that I'm replacing this with is 860 because I
Yeah, that's
have the
good.
I have the cloth under the table.
Oh, okay.
Well, this allows me to deal with the 5, and I can
Yeah.
just try to draw back to center table so I can re-deal with the 8.
I would just try and draw back a little and shoot the 13 next.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Easier shot too.
You're not wrong there.
Yeah. Now you can go 13, 7, 8, and then come back down.
Yep. Oh, the question is do I want to stop? Because this is a cut angle. I'm
I'd
not.
follow forward. That way
Yeah,
your
because
cue ball's
I'm
farther
not
away,
flat.
and then the angle is lessened. Then now it's easy to just tap that 7 in.
So a lot of times, what I typically think is if I shoot this 8, and I don't really want to try to pull the cue ball back because I'll be flirting with the side pocket, so I can gently pull it back as I go from side to side, and that makes me think that the 2 ball is most likely going to be my next ball, which means one of these has to be the key ball in order to do that. Unless I wanted to get aggressive and make sure that I do land somewhere right around here, then that changes things.
Okay.
Unless I want to use the 2 just to get better on the 8, because then if I do get better on the 8, I can probably just draw back for the 15 and use the 1 as a key ball. It still makes
I,
me believe the 15 or the 1 is going to be a key ball.
I prefer shooting the 8 now because you have 3 balls down table to shoot next,
Okay.
depending on where exactly the cue ball stops.
I'm more than likely confident that I should have position on the 2 with the way I'm going to play this.
Okay.
Straight in, well, small angle on the 2. I'd
Okay.
have to. I can 2 rail this for the 1 or the 15,
Okay.
which makes me believe I should 2 rail this for the 15 and use the 1 as a key ball.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, got a little angle, so that's going to cause me to bump the 3 unless I follow forward and spin around it.
Ooh, no.
I can't hold the cue ball. Like the cue ball is
Can
moving, and
can you draw the cue ball past the 3 so it doesn't hit it?
I think I'll skim it if I do that.
Oh, okay.
The other option is to go ahead and cut the 1 and see what kind of angle, and either get this kind of an angle on the 15, 2 rails or 1 rail up and down for the 3.
or if you get real straight, you can go 2 rails out of the corner as well. So that either it's tricky. It's not, neither way is optimal, but whichever way you decide, make a firm decision and commit to it.
Yeah, I think this is probably the.
Good. The worst thing you can do is end up low on that 15 and then you run into the 3. So you're good.
Right.
Looks like you got a 2 rails out of the corner angle.
You're talking about coming over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So some high inside. Okay.
Right. Right. Ooh, that'll work. So you ended up with an outside angle, and I do that a lot because I'm afraid that I'm going to end up with too much angle on the 3, and then you end up with this outside angle. So it's a
Nope, for
tricky
sure.
shot.
For
It's a tricky
sure.
shot.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yep.
But most important, I'm still shooting.
Still shooting.
As long as I'm still shooting, we try to work with what we have. All right, so I am on the outside of the ball here, so following is not ideal. Usually what
Correct.
I have problems trying to figure out is how do I either stun into the rack and bounce off of it, or choosing the right amount of draw to basically do this without doing this.
Yeah, this one I don't want the cue ball to go up table. It looks to me like you can shoot just a little below center really hard and just kind of kill the cue ball into the side of the rack, and it should come loose.
And
Oh, that's the
that's
reason why you
usually
got to
that.
shoot below center.
Well, I thought I did. So
Okay.
I might have came up on the shot, or I don't know. It's that is a common result that I tried that has happened to me when I think I'm hitting enough below center
Right.
to do whatever
And
result that I'm looking for.
it's because it's hard to determine just exactly what part of the rack ball you're hitting.
Yeah.
Because if you
So
stroked it that way and hit the center of the ball, you'd be okay.
right.
So hey, try and set it up again exactly the same.
Yeah, that's what I was just
Then
about to do.
yeah, and cue it a little bit lower and see what happens.
And then usually what ends up happening when I do this is now I'm going to do the other extreme.
Yeah, it'll come up to all the way up table.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think this is about where I was, give or take. You know, it's obviously not going to be exact.
Right. It's very close. It's the same type of shot.
So last
So a
time I
little bit,
cued here. Now I'm going to
yeah, a
go a little
little
bit
lower.
lower.
Yep.
And like I said, I'll do the other
Okay.
extreme.
That's okay. That was a perfect Thorsten Homan impersonation. That was ideal.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right. So here's the deal, folks. We've been playing now for 3 hours. This is only my third attempt since I scratched on that last one, but this will be the final attempt, so we
Oh,
can
okay.
pretty much call it a night after this one. It sounds like my earbuds are about to die,
Okay.
and if they do, that means I can't hear you anymore.
Hey, if they die, I want to make sure I get this out there. This has been really fun, Chris. I loved it.
Absolutely, likewise. I hope we
Thank
can
you
do it
so
again
much.
sometime. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. All
You're
right,
going to get
so
to
this is
100.
this appears to be. Let's see if I can remember all the steps. Right, that's the key part
Okay.
about all this. This appears to be a semi-clustered table. We got these two things here. The only thing is that like the one ball doesn't go, but the 6 and the 9 do. So if I remove the
Yeah.
6, I open up the 1.
You got it.
And if I remove at the same time I remove the 6, I can open this up. But I need this guy gone first, I think, before I do that.
Yeah. Good job.
So potential break balls, 9 ball, 15 or the 7 are currently possible key balls.
Yeah.
Um,
It's very likely that a different break ball will show up as balls get nudged.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I had to think about this, I'm starting with the 7. That allows me to stun over and either allow me to pick off the 3, or I would either pick off the 6 right now. I I probably should
I,
just go ahead and pick off the 3 before I even think about the 6. The
I,
3
I
will lead to the 12, 14, or the 8.
if you get a good shot on the 6, you can hit the 10, and then the cue ball will nudge the 5 ball over to break ball position, and you'll have a shot on the 3.
Okay, let's see if I can do that then. So my priority is to get on the 6.
Too far.
And I'm going to be flat on the 6. So there goes that.
Yep.
I'll move the 1 because I'm going to bump into the 1 as well.
It's okay.
But I have to take. I think I have to take this shot. I don't. There are obviously other options, but some of these other options looks like it makes things worse.
Yeah, I think you have to shoot the 6.
Yeah. So I feel like maybe. Do I want to do a stop shot? I don't think so.
I'd want to go forward a little bit to shoot the 12 next.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. It's just a matter of when I bump this 1, I don't want to bump it into a 1-9 combination.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my concern.
I'm looking at, I want to get an angle on the 12 so I can either draw back or go off the rail and get into hit the 2 ball.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope, I'm flat. Or I have to punch this
Shoot
to
the
hit the
9, and then
2.
you'll have the right angle.
Ah, okay.
That's what I say when you watch Thorsten Holman, his eyes are always dancing all over the table because he's always looking out for these types of things, different opportunities.
Well, the angle's a little bit better, but it's only a little bit better.
Only a little? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'll still go for it though.
Okay.
There's I think there's plenty of insurance balls in case something goes wrong.
That's the reason why. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh,
Well,
well.
I felt the need to hit it as hard as I did, but I did throw a twist of spin on it
Yeah.
because I thought the cue ball was going to go up and then the spin would bring it back, but it turns out it just stunned and then the spin took over.
Do you have an angle on the 15 to draw into the 10?
I think I'll hit the 10.
Okay. Your other option is the 14 with a lot of inside English into the 2.
Correct.
But
But I'm stretching over the table
oh
if I
yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
that.
I'd shoot that because I'm 6'5".
well, well, you're a whole foot taller than me, so that makes it easier for you.
Sure does.
That's
Oh,
what I was worried about. I would draw right through it. Um,
I
all
like the
right.
fact that you're attacking, and you can do it now. You can shoot the 14, follow to the side rail, and back into the 10 because the 8's your insurance ball.
Yep. Now, now I feel like I'm playing 8 ball because this is what I do in 8 ball. When I target a clutter and I'm trying to hit it, I miss it every time I try.
If it makes you feel better, I've been there. I've shot 4 shots in a row trying to open a cluster and missed it every time.
So here, well,
It happens. It
so
happens.
here's the hard part. Lots of soldiers are dying.
Yes.
I have no break ball at the
Right.
moment, but the moment I move the 3 ball, the 5 ball becomes accessible, and I don't even have to touch the clutter anymore.
Okay.
Uh,
Does the 10-2
and
combination go or what?
the 10-2, no, it doesn't.
Oh,
So the only thing I see if I were to maintain everything is that the 8 ball has to be a break ball, kind of like the shot that we did that allowed me to break the record, where I hit the low left
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
come over here. Like that's the. I mean, I have a high break ball on the 1 ball where I'll probably drive into the second row. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's too high.
I've done that a couple of times, but
Yeah.
I have to get like almost flat with the or almost parallel just to create that.
Can you get enough left English on the cue ball to shoot the 3 and get the cue ball to come back up into the 2?
Um, possibly,
If
possibly.
you can, that's a good shot because again, your 8's an insurance and you might make a break ball. You don't have to hit those balls hard. Bingo, baby.
So the 5 ball becomes a better break ball, even though it's a little high on
Yeah,
the
it came
rack.
a little too far, but you know what? You're still alive.
Yep. Uh, let's see here. I want to get rid of this in this next, or as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So oh, don't bump into that ball. Like I said, I'm notorious for doing that. I am notorious for doing that. So I can take a risky shot right now, which is to shoot the 11.
Mhm.
And that way the 4 can lead to the 1. I can't guarantee myself that I'm gonna have a shot at the 4. I'd have to try to prioritize the 10 ball or the 5 ball, and I don't really want to do that with the 5 ball because that's my break ball.
Yeah.
Um, I don't. Oh, I don't know if I would actually be able to nudge the 1 right towards the side pocket. Like that could be a thing.
Yeah, there's no great opportunities here. The other thing you could do is bank the 1 cross side, stop the cue
Yes.
ball on the 11. You could also shoot the 2 ball and try and come up and hit those or get a better angle. It's none of those are these are all recovery shots, but
I actually like that shot.
okay.
Oh,
It's getting worse, Chris.
yeah. This is where the game gets fun. So I have my last chance to do it with the 10.
With the 10. Yeah, yeah.
And right now, all I'm not doing is putting enough side spin, really. It's coming over here, just not enough.
Come on, give him a shot.
I don't think I have one. I don't
You
think I
can
have one.
you can tap that 1 ball in the side pocket.
I don't think so.
It's a delicate shot, but it goes. It's touchy, but it goes.
Like, wow. Uh,
You just got to kind of get it in front of the pocket so it hits that lip and falls in.
all right. Because I gotta make sure I pass this point
Yes.
just
Yeah.
just to make sure that happened. And that
Yep.
window is super small.
It is a very touchy shot, but it goes. Oh!
Not quite. Not quite.
Oh, all
All
right, that
right,
was fun.
so that makes it an 11. Oh my goodness.
Only how many innings? 3 or 4?
We only did 3 attempts in 3 hours and 30 minutes. When
Well,
usually,
you're gonna have a good average.
yeah, usually I'm somewhere up in the like the 30s or 40s.
Is
or,
your
or
average 24?
yes, my average would be 24. So actually here, let me do
That's
this.
that's the
Let's
average of a 100-ball runner, 24 BPI. That's good.
So here's what we're dealing with, folks. I have broken my personal best of 46 with a 48 on the very first attempt, allowing me to get to the 4th rack 1 time. And then, of course, the 11 that I just finished, which means I did not get out of the 1st rack 1 time. And the 14 means that I got to the 2nd rack at least 1 time. So that's why when you look at the total racks, That's why it's 7. Because anything less than 14 means 1 rack. Anything greater than or equal to 14 but less than 28 means that attempt has 2 racks. And then of course the 4 racks that I have there, meaning that I'm in the 4 racks. So 4 plus 2 plus 1, that's where the 7 is. So of the 7, that means there was a total of 98 balls that I could have made without missing. And of those 98, I have made 73 of them, averaging 74% with a BPI, balls per inning. That's a new terminology that I learned because I was just calling it average, of
Yeah.
24, an all-time high. Considering that 3 hours and 30 minutes later, we've only gone through 3 attempts.
It'll be faster. We knew it was going to be slow.
No,
But
but
you
this was.
also,
Go ahead.
out of all those shots, you missed 2 balls, and
Mm-hmm.
both of them were very difficult, tight backwards cuts.
Right.
So
No,
you
for
did real
sure.
good. Yeah.
For sure. So,
Okay.
Bob, I want to extend a very grateful thank you, a gracious thank you for doing this here with me. Like
Yeah.
yourself, I had a wonderful time. Not because of just being like breaking the record is like the cherry on top of the icing. Um,
Yeah.
I, I, I I liked all the things that you were able to point out to me. These are things that I think that I already know, but having that reinforcement of look, 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 because
Right.
to me that's what's always going to be helpful. So just like we said earlier, that here you are reminding me of everything that I have a good idea of how to use,
Right.
helping me remember more. I think just makes it get better.
Yeah.
As far as I'm
Yep.
concerned. So I certainly have to try to maintain everything that we did today, because obviously the next time I turn on the camera or the next time I do this, it probably won't be as good as this. It's gonna,
It goes
it's
up
gonna
and
go
down.
all over the place.
And it's a process. You're
Yeah.
just getting started. A year from now, you're gonna look back and go, wow, all the stuff that I learned in the year because you started applying these principles. Yeah.
No,
It
absolutely,
just keeps going.
absolutely.
That's what straight pool is, and I think that's why a lot of 9-ball players don't like it. It's decision making. You're always making decisions constantly. Should I do this? Should I do that? And then you have to make a decision, and then you got to get down on the shot and execute it. So that's why I think it's the hardest game, but it's the most fun.
No, for sure, for sure.
Yep.
Just so you know, I saw that we had over 160 people watching.
Is that average for
So
you, or
no, like it's like I average between, like I've peaked before at like 170
okay?
before, but the average is usually like around 100 to 130. So anytime it gets higher than that, like that's always super amazing for me, especially as the numbers jump up and down.
Good deal.
So at the very least, for the viewers, not only for it to be beneficial to us that we have the exposure that we have. Hopefully everybody's been entertained. Hopefully everybody has learned something on top of me
Right.
learning something. And then of course even you as the coach, you might have learned
Absolutely.
something
Yeah.
to
Don't
go
hit
along
that
with
shot
it.
that hard. It doesn't work out.
Right?
Yeah, it was fantastic. I really appreciate you having me on. This is great.
No, well, I mean, you're the one that reached out to me, so like
Yep.
I can only be super appreciative that you even considered
Yep.
to take your time to offer me this free lesson. And
Yep.
then, of course, offered at least over hundreds of people
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
free lesson
Yep.
as well. So I
Yep.
can do nothing but thank you for
Yep.
that. And we can hopefully gladly do this again, or
Yeah.
we can do the flip of it, meaning that you'll shoot and I'll commentate.
Oh, put a little pressure on me.
I don't
Let's
think
get
I'll
some pressure
necessarily
on me.
coach. Yeah, I don't think I'll necessarily coach, but I can certainly commentate.
Yeah, yeah. And I've thought of yeah. We'll definitely do more in the fast. And I'm going to be watching your channel, and I know you're going to get to 100. And I'm here for you. If you got questions and other things, we'll do more in the future. And excuse me for a sec. Quick sneeze. Quick plug. My YouTube channel is Shortstop on Pool, and you can Shortstop on Pool. And the website for my book is also shortstoponpool.com. So you can
Okay,
find
I
those.
have a link to your YouTube channel
Yep.
down in the description of the live feed. I'll be sure to put a link to your website in there as
Sweet.
well.
All right, man.
We got Stephen Williams here saying that his brain hurts from information overload.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go take a walk and decompress right now before I can even get to sleep. All right, man. Thank
Okay,
you.
so yeah, everybody that's here in the live stream, thank you so much for being here. Like I said, I hope it was educational as well as entertaining to go along with it. Bob, thank you so much for being here. If you haven't done so already, especially if you're new to this channel, please consider giving me a subscription and then be sure to go over to Shortstop Pool over here. Shortstop on Pool's YouTube channel. You can find a link to his YouTube channel in the description of the live feed, and I'll be sure to add a link to his website as well, which means I think you'll find information about his book more than likely on his website. So be sure to check that stuff out as well.
Yeah.
And then, of course, just stay tuned for the next live stream. Take care, everybody.
See ya. Okay. Are we gone? Are we offline?
Okay, I think we are
Sorry, my
officially